E-Gaming Bets. Мы принимаем ставки на компьютерные игры онлайн с 2011 года. Реферальная система для постоянных пользователей и бонус на первый депозит. Магазин игровых девайсов и лучший выбор платежных систем. Dota 2 и Hearthstone, Counter-Strike и StarCraft, World of Tanks и Лига Легенд. egb.com. Ты точно знаешь, кто победит.
Надоело играть с обычными скинами, но нет денег на новые? Разбогатей быстро с CS Go Fast. csgofast.com – это высокие шансы на победу, несколько комнат с различными режимами игры, ежедневно более 1000 игр, 5000 игроков, 25 тысяч разыгранных вещей. Тебе не нужно много скинов, чтобы стать победителем.
Because you missed a big play? Tired of staying up all night to create highlight videos? Introducing LiveCap.tv. Simply press the capture button and bam! A highlight from the past 60 seconds will be instantly recorded. Get posts from streamers and fans around the world. Achieve legendary status Kappa.
Happens to everyone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you don't find out a way of losing on the desk. Definitely some teams that are going to be looking not to lose are the ones that we've got coming up shortly. We are going to be talking specifically about the game SK versus Hellraisers, and on our Russian brothers and sisters stream, it's going to be Virtus.Pro versus Worst Players, and Worst Players are standing in for Born of Fire, one of the Chinese teams that couldn't unfortunately make it here. And so, should we start talking a bit about SK versus Hellraisers?
Yeah, we can do that for sure. We talked a bit about it before going live, and it's a rematch of the semi-final from the CEVO Gfinity LAN event where, surprisingly, to me at least, SK went and win 3-0. SK is a team known for not having a specifically wide map pool, and Hellraisers, especially after the addition of Bundik, who maybe hasn't excelled yet and really found his place in the team yet, to like reach their top level yet. But like I feel like Hellraisers on paper should be a better team. So coming into that event, I was a bit surprised.
Well, you were on that team coming into. Oh no, what you mean to CEVO or onto in the previous DreamHack tour?
CEVO.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Like tours, I was
still
in the
rubber
team,
getting
so I knew we were gonna fail since I was playing with them in tours.
Yeah.
Not surprised, obviously, but yeah, it's gonna be a close game, I think. But already now, I wanna give out my small prediction, and I'm etching it out for Hellraisers due to also SK haven't been playing with Freeze for some time due to his surgery and so on.
Yeah.
And I know that they're a team who's not that good at changing up their strategies and so on. And Hellraisers has a hardworking coach in LMB and LMBTN.
LMBT,
Yeah,
yeah.
LMBT.
So I think that SK is readable.
Yeah, in my opinion, like you touched, the addition of Bondic is great for this side. Even though maybe fragging power hasn't been there yet for Bondic, I don't think he's had any explosive results so far in numbers wise. But I think he adds this stability of element. You know, he's a very formidable rifler. Seems like a really psyched guy. You know, he's going to keep the team in check. Keep everyone really hyped. He's going to be yelling at their opponents when he has the chance. So I think that's going to be a great addition to the lineup in the long run. But like you touched there on SK as well, I mean, the first thing for me is which SK is going to turn up. Is it going to be the one that we've seen choking at LAN at the MLG qualifier? Horrible stuff. Sivo, obviously, great stuff. Tours last weekend, obviously, not the greatest showing. You had to play there as a stand-in, not the optimal situation. But it seems like when they go into this mode where things are not going right, they're not great at resetting. They're not great mentally. So I think if they get a great start, if they get their ball rolling, that's okay. They can maybe make it work. But like Casper is saying, the one issue is that they're not really good at adapting or figuring out new stuff. You were saying before that they keep playing a lot of the same strats they used to when you were playing last year with them.
Frag by Masters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been quite a while ago, half a year ago, right? So I can see that being an issue.
On the way into the studio, that what Natu's referencing is that Casper mentioned that they're playing relatively the same strats as they did when you were on the team,
At least
just
some of them.
before Fragbite at the end of last year, right?
Yeah, at least some of them. And also, like, just from when playing in other teams and preparing for them, it's at least like 3 or 4 months where they've had a lot of the same executes and maps. And as said, you can make it work if you're able to, like, adjust them on the fly and so on. But if you just keep doing them, starting on the same way and they're readable from your default setups, then it's going to be hard to work from. And to pick up on your point about SK being a team that, when things go bad, has a hard time getting up again. Like, to make a reference point, when trying to qualify for this event, when standing in versus CSGO Lounge, we're leading 6-1, and we lose, like, 1 round. No, actually, we won. We won the round, but because of miscommunication, there were still discussions going on. And to be fair, when we already won the first map, and you're 1 map away from qualifying for a LAN event, and you're up 6-1, discussions shouldn't be happening at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
You should just move on, and you can take that after the game. And they have some players who is both able to boost the team on the morale part of the things, but there certainly also has some players who's able to bring them down.
Let me guess. Marty?
Actually, I expected Muddy to be worse because I've heard like a lot of rumors, but I haven't experienced it much bad with Muddy, to be honest. It's not.
I think it's yeah. I mean, back in the day in 1.6, he used to be notorious for being individually a great part of a team, but mentally wise, and then
A bit hot-headed, maybe.
Very hot-headed. It's like if things went south, he would go way even more south. So
he would go extra south if it already went south. Vendetta, could you touch upon the return of Freeze? Because of course SK did not get the result that they wanted to at DreamHack Tour. Unfortunately, they had to use a good stand-in, but it just did not go according to the way they wanted.
Let's emphasize that. Stand-in, obviously.
Online.
But it was not the result that they wanted. It goes without saying. So the return of Freeze, can we? What's the effect of him on the team?
Well, obviously when you've seen SK play previously and when they've had success, it's been oftentimes on various maps off the back of Freeze's ability to actually find picks on their T side. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen and if they can't find that entry frag, then they become very static. And that's something that Casper alluded to with the fact that they don't really change up too much. They're very I guess they trust a lot of what they've been doing for quite a few months. So if they can't find things to go just according to plan, they falter a bit. And I think that's a benefit of having Freeze back in. But from speaking to Pimp, just on the shuttle from the airport back to the hotel, he was unsure whether or not Freeze could actually sit for more than half an hour before getting issues with his hip. So sure, it's nice getting Freeze back, but it's not a Freeze who's going to be 100%. Yeah. He's currently in recovery. Even he's walking around with crutches.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the surgery was, but I have a feeling that it was relatively
hip.
Yeah, it was quite like a relatively invasive procedure.
Yeah.
So presumably he's not at the highest of physical health points right now, which seems to be a running theme at the. What is that? I hope that we can't hear that on stream. There is a lot of groaning going on backstage. Sorry, that slightly threw me off. Yeah, which health in physical health in Counter-Strike is becoming quite the topic at the moment, because of course Guardian is here as well on Na'Vi, and we're gonna have to see if this player as well can overcome what's been going on.
Yeah, he was talking about. I was talking with Guardian at the airport. We arrived at the same time. He said he's almost okay by now. Apparently, it was like a muscle issue somewhere like around here on his arm, and it's like basically like when he's playing longer, the hand gets tired, kind of a situation right now. But he says he's 90-something% right now, so hopefully it should be fine.
I think that's more than Freeze.
Yeah, definitely, it's
so
way better than Freeze.
Yeah.
If he can only sit 30 minutes at a time, that's going to be an issue in Counter-Strike.
Freeze can only sit for...
No,
Well,
like they don't know, but like
Yeah.
Pimp was very
Possible.
uncertain as to how long Freeze can actually sit there without getting pain and his hip, and obviously that's going to be an issue. He's not going to be able to focus as well, and given how big of a part with that op he can be for the SK side, it's going to be a massive issue for them, especially because he has to take up the task of going up against Oscar.
Yeah.
We haven't really mentioned yet, but Oscar probably right now, just in terms of just raw fragging, probably the one who's doing the best in all of Europe.
You could
He's even outshining Nico.
You could argue he's together with Nico, for example, Guardian. He's one of those three players who is the most important part of a team, basically. Everything's like just built around Oscar on Hellraisers. And, well, it makes sense. I was watching him play against, I think, Orbit in the consolidation final of DreamHack Tours just last week, and I was sat behind him. It's like, when you watch him play, you think, opping is the easiest thing in the world because he just makes it look so good.
It's automatic.
Yeah, so, I mean, the consistency he can hit shots with is just unbelievable, to be honest with you, and that's going to be really hard for Freeze to go up against, considering his physical situation.
Yeah, and just to add to everything to that is, like you said, we haven't really seen Bondic at his full peak, or he hasn't found his spot properly in Hellraisers yet, but he hasn't really had to yet. So they can only go up, and as for SK, I think they can only go down really, because they're not going to have a Freeze in full form, and not just the fact that he's recovering, but the fact that they haven't been able to play that much. They went with Casper to Torch, so obviously that's going to take time away from actually practicing with the squad, and all in all together, that does give a pretty big advantage for Hellraisers in my eyes.
What I think we have in general established about Hellraisers, though, is that they cannot rely fully on Oscar. Oscar can have a fantastic game, but to have the long-term and great success against the top-tier teams, they need to have those other players kind of finding their potential as well, like Styko, like Bondic, like Zero. Could you share your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think they have the right tools right now. Their problem is talking with LMBT and in Tours is the fact that they haven't really had much time to practice with Bondic on the team. But when you think about players like Stiko, I think he's in a great prospect going further. He has one of the highest ratings in pistol rounds in all of the universe right now, and just watching him, he's really good with the USP, for example. So that's going to be a great asset if you can win most of the pistol rounds, because you have some of the best pistol players. But I think it's about them getting their stuff together, basically, and just having a bit of time to fine-tune things. But watching them play, LMBT being super hands-on is going to, I think, accelerate that process a whole lot, because you have that sixth pair of eyes who's really hands-on, he was always making sure everyone had the proper nades for the execute they wanted to do. He was reminding everyone of what they needed to do, which grenade they needed to throw on which tactic and so forth. So I think that's going to accelerate their process a whole lot, and give them a couple of months, I feel like they're going to be very, very competitive.
Yeah, I just want to point out, like, when you ask about, like, oh, Nico, Oscar, these guys, and yeah, they're good, but as you say, you need more than one guy to perform to be able to win against a team who's like around the same level as you. So we saw some of the games. I think Oscar had a 1.89 rating versus Orbit does 2. Something like 30
No, he had
kills.
like 2.3,
something, I think.
I
Yeah,
think was
yeah.
the highest he
Yeah,
had.
and he lost, right? There was a map he lost 16-11 or something. At least he lost some
Possibly.
map with like an insane rating. So that just shows that you need more than one guy going off. And it's not like Oscar is a stats-based player or rating-based player, but he is, together with AWP players like Henny, to the more passive category. And that also gives you some abilities to pick up not necessarily easy kills, but you always go in and talk about entry kills being one of the factors, which is what can really turn around or give you a high advantage. You often see teams like LG having somewhere around 90% win rate in rounds where Fallen gets an entry, and that just shows that if you get the entry from the right guys, you can
still,
really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well, sure,
I
just
would
before we-
argue
yeah.
I've seen quite a bit of versatility from him, though. Like I've seen him when like they've been in 2-on-4s, 2-on-3 situations
Yeah.
where he's been making plays and he's able to come from a situation that's not definitely favoring them. So he is more a passive player. Well, if you compare him to someone like JW, we had this conversation in
Yes,
tours.
we did.
There's no comparison, obviously, but he's still, he can find these different rhythms of how to do
he's,
things.
he's good at finding the rhythm of when to make plays, when he can like stay back, as you say, because it's not like he doesn't have the movement, the reflexes, or anything to go and make plays from the beginning of the round, because he has that for sure. But I think he found his way to make the most impact of his AWP.
We've actually got a graphic on screen right now showing the most recent matches for both teams. Are there any matches there that you'd like to point out or highlight, Cadian?
Well, I mean, I can make a quick run of SKs. Obviously,
Wow.
versus CSGO Loungers in the
Savage.
Upper Ice Championship, where we lost 1-2, and that was fine. Against Escape and CSGO Lounge, both 2-0 games, I would say, for qualifying for Star Ladder, which is actually pretty decent results. CSGO Lounge has been having a great shape online, so we were very satisfied with that. Going into the tournament, we were actually quite happy in tours with our group, seeing as Orbit has a stand-in. Epsilon, on paper, were probably the weakest team. But yeah.
And
We
Natu,
failed.
why don't you tell us about the recent games for Hellraisers?
I see where this is going. There's a Finnish flag and it says ends afterwards. I can see where this. No, I guess 2 pointers from that. I guess is the fact that Hellraisers lost to Orbit, something they hadn't done in the past. I don't even know how many encounters in maps, but it's. I think Orbit. I think it was Victor talking about black magic that
Yes.
Hellraisers has over the Bulgarians. But yeah, they finally broke it. But then in the end, Hellraisers did manage to come back. They did beat them in the consolidation final, and in the finals against Dignitas, the first map. Was Dust 2 of all maps. That it's a map that Dignitas doesn't really play. We thought it would be a walk in the park for Hellraisers. Didn't turn out to be that way. It was actually Dignitas being maybe even closer to beating Hellraisers than the other way around. It was more Dignitas losing it than Hellraisers winning it. In the end, they take it 16-13, but then just get destroyed in the overpass. Was the third map, and the second one was Mirage. So that final was kind of shaky. Didn't look that good, but to be honest. Got to be saying they're playing now against SK, who are not in a similar situation as Dignitas. Dignitas actually, even they've had a rough time recently, they actually seemed like in a decent shape at the minor, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
I mean, they qualified for start, so
Yeah.
that's obviously
Number
an
one
improvement from what
priority.
they did
Yeah,
last time.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, for me, it's kind of the same thing with Hellraisers. The fact that they first off lost to Orbit, and it's like you said, that's not something that hasn't really happened in the past. But the fact that they're able to turn it around when it comes down to it, and it's elimination, it's do or die pretty much, and they actually managed to turn it around, win 2-0. That's speaks volumes of how I guess their mental fortitude is working, and I think that's going to be another advantage that they have over SK. I think everything just went down the drain for you guys pretty much at tours, and you can see that. You said it yourself, going up against Epsilon, that's a game you assume you're going to win, or you expect that you're going to be able to topple Epsilon, and it doesn't quite work out. You lose 16-14. I obviously don't think they're going to bring this kind of or that result from tours into Star Ladder, but I think it's an issue for them that if things start off on the wrong foot on the first map, we can see a pretty easy or not easy, but a rather quick 2-0 from Hellraisers.
Yeah, I think that one of the things is that what's going to be tough for SK is Hellraiser's approach to their CT sides a lot. It's been vintage Angel since 2012 to play very aggressive in the first 8 rounds of a CT side, especially on a map like Dust 2. It works out perfectly, but it can be applied to Cobblestone, can be applied to Overpass. Pretty much any map, right? So that's going to be one thing for SK to look out for when they start on their T side, is to slow their game down or be hyper aggressive basically in the beginning. So I can see that being a bit of a problem, because we were discussing how SK might not be the best at adjusting, not by the best at inventing new stuff. So that's something they definitely need to keep an eye on when they're playing against Hellraisers.
I guess, well, for at least previously, SK hasn't been the fastest team either. So that's something that could actually work to their advantage as well, if we're going to see that hyper aggression. And it's like you said, it's something that Angel is known for. If SK expect that, then they can definitely pick up an easy round here or there from that, or actually get into the groove of things and not get completely shafted initially. So, yeah, no, it can work both ways, but I think it's definitely, the first 5 rounds of the game is going to be, or for the first map, is going to be pretty indicative of how we're going to see things go.
Let's look at the teams specifically the players. Each of them, each team's players are on screen right now with this graphic. We've got Styko, Oscar, Zero, Bondic, and Angel representing Hellraisers. Oscar is kind of the standout for the team, Angel being the one with the most experience. And then on the SK side of things, we've got Muddy. He kind of represents maybe the Angel of that team, the one on with the most experience, or is Freeze up there as well in terms of time played, Natu, for SK?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This is basically there's a mixture. SK lineup is from like Copenhagen Wolves,
Yes.
and Dignitas, and then you have Marty as the odd man out, and Magic Spoil, obviously the new kid coming
kid
in
on the block.
right? Then Magic Spoil is someone that I always look forward to be delivering the numbers, obviously, and Pimp as well. I think he's found his rhythm ever since that horrible stint of playing an AWP for Dignitas that I still don't understand to this date of what the hell was in their minds when they decided to do that.
It still comes back every now and again. I still see Pim picking up that
Gives
off.
me shivers when I
mean,
think about it.
He's not that bad as a secondary, like especially not on CT when he has to just be static and like hit the
Be
shot.
a turret, that's fine.
Yeah, but
That's
as
one thing.
terrorist. But the thing is, what was going on in their minds? No. What was going on in his mind? He's the one who wanted it. He's the one who's like,
Pimp.
yeah, guys,
Pimp.
I'll take it. And not only that, you know, okay, let's say that you lose your AWP and you add another great rifler to your team. The goal shouldn't be to just get one of your riflers to be like full-time AWP. You should have him like Forest or something, you know, like pick it up when it's needed, not every round. And I feel like he was just trying too hard to make it work. And
also for like on their team is also the fact that Freeze not only does he have a hip issue after the surgery, but also as far as I know, his index finger doesn't work properly.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
Yeah.
That's
He can't use his index finger as far as I know, right?
He won 200 easy pucks alone this month on how many days? 19. So I'm pretty sure that his finger is more than just fine.
Yeah, but I know. But I was going to say
Yeah.
is the fact that it affects his mobility because he can't use
for
his
sure.
index finger.
Yeah.
So he's a more static.
It's
he's
a
a more
work injury.
very passive opping just because of that inability.
Let's take a look at the bracket. All the teams are on screen right now. As we've already established, we've got HR versus SK. That is going to be our focus on this desk here. And then VP are playing off against worst players on the Russian stream. And then later in the day and later throughout the tournament, we've got Flipside versus Godsent, Navi versus CSGL, who are, if I'm not mistaken, now Dobry and Gaming.
Yeah,
They
gone
are.
back to their old name.
Yes, they are. Should we, now we've spoken a bit about SK and HR, we'll get into prediction, maybe a bit more detail about them as the match approaches, but should we touch upon the Virtus.Pro worst players matchup? It's quite an interesting one because that should have been Virtus.Pro versus Born of Fire, which was the Chinese team who were going to attend instead of the original team, which was Tai Lu, but then both teams couldn't attend, I think, due to visa issues, and now we have Simple's team, worst players, filling in for Born of Fire. So, have you got any initial thoughts, Cadian?
You say that it's going to be interesting, but from watching their online games...
It's based on personality, based on storyline, for sure. But in terms of what the result is going to be, it should be quite clear-cut, no?
I mean, they have some potential, obviously, in some of their players, but I've seen the online games, at least just like score-wise.
You saw the Copenhagen game?
It's been like insane. They lost like 16-3 against Copenhagen Wolves, who recently added 2 new guys, and then they lost big as well to Dendidi, who's like a Swedish mix, and I'm not impressed yet.
Can I put this into perspective? Worst players lost to fluffy gangsters.
Well,
yeah,
we can all lose to fluffy gangsters once in a while, whether it's in game or in real life. What is going on screen right now? We have the veto. We've got bans from both team Train and Dust2, and then please Natu.
Yeah,
100%
makes sense, right? Dust2 being banned from SK is interesting, but then again, they're banking Hellraise not to pick Inferno probably.
Yeah, and I think
then Train being banned by Hellraise, they don't play it, and Cobble being banned by Hellraise makes sense because SK beat Hellraise 16-3 on it at SEVO.
Yeah. So now Hellraisers for sure will pick Cash. I'm quite confident, and SK will pick Overpass, and Mirage will be the decider.
Yeah, this dynamic obviously changed a lot since we have ban for both teams instead of ban or ban and then pick for each. So obviously now this I would say probably
favors SK that they're
favors SK a little bit, yeah.
Because the thing is, they kind of on paper lost first map already because they have to auto ban Inferno, which they don't play at all.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I actually spoke with them a bit, and you guys predicted that
Cash. We've got a Cash pick from Hellraisers.
Expected. And you guys talked about maybe Hellraisers going for Dust2. They lost that map to SK at Gfinity, so I actually had a theory that they might have gone for Cass, even though they had the opportunity.
To be fair, they lost every map versus SK at Divinity. So
They did, but like there's two
If
was
I'm
there.
if I'm SK,
go-to
I'm gonna
pick.
pick Overpass at this point
Yeah.
because Hellraiser.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, they did pick it.
Yeah.
So, for example, Hellraiser wasn't. They didn't look. Even though it's a map they like to play, but still they did not look too good against Dignitas at the Tours finals. To be honest with you.
Magisk is getting hyped up. We
Then
are
it's gonna be
waiting
Cobblestone
on
for
the
decider.
map.
No, never
No,
mind.
it's gonna be
Cobblestone.
Mirage.
I mean.
Yeah.
It's going to
So
be.
like, for example, what to look out for an overpass from the SK side,
There
and
we
in
go.
general how
It is
this
Mirage.
how this team is built up is that they obviously have their 5 players, and Muddy and Magisboy is on the sides, so they're like lurking. Muddy a bit more aggressively than Magisboy. Then you have Freeze, Asilian, and Pimp, who's working the map control. Most of the time, obviously, that goes on in the middle part of the map with like trying to smoke off choke points, approaching the side slowly, and then making a decision in the middle of the round from what they want to do. Freeze, as we talked about, one of the more passive AWP players. Very good when he's on point, because then he's one of those who doesn't really miss a shot and can be really annoying to play against. But we also see him sometimes, because of his lack of movement and so on, sometimes not perform as well as he can. But he has been in a lot of the big best of 3 wins. He's actually been their best player in terms of frags. But obviously, when looking at the player names, as you mentioned, Nato, Pimp and Magisboy is 2 of the players to look out for, because they can also really go off. Muddy, one of those players who has like the really big games, and then he has like one of the more quiet games, and then he can really go off again. And Asilian just, mostly I would say look out for him in clutch situations and on his CT sides.
Let's clarify as well, if you didn't see during the veto, we are using Inferno as opposed to the new Nuke. So there is no Nuke at this tournament, we are using Inferno. And maybe for one of these teams, Inferno is going to be, all teams during this tournament, Inferno is going to be a map that they'd much prefer to play as opposed to the new Nuke. I think most people are kind of in agreement about that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single team that actually would like to play Nuke. Maybe Astralis.
SK as well, I think maybe. We practiced it a bit up till the minor, but as we talked about, we didn't get to play that many maps, so it wasn't really useful. But SK has always been a team that you guys mentioned haven't played Inferno, so that map being removed and them having the opportunity of playing Nuke is actually great for them. But
If I'm a team that wants to climb the ladder, this is the time to
you play Nuke.
stop playing one of the usual maps,
Yeah.
be it Cash, Mirage, or one of those maps, Dust 2, whatever, and then pick Nuke into your pool.
Yeah.
Because you have so many teams that are awesome on those normal maps, but obviously there's so much to really learn on a map like Nuke. So definitely, it's something to go for most of these teams even at this tournament.
Presumably then, if that is the tactic, say if you're a team and you adopt that tactic, you need to kind of keep it on the low, because then surely teams just start banning it against you. So how would it work if that was the case for the 4 teams that were to try and adopt that map?
I mean, that's kind of also going for your advantage, because, okay, if you're one of the teams who plays Nuke and you get a strong start and people are going to auto-ban you, you might be able to excel on one of the other maps that people normally would ban against you. So in that sense, it can be really good.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you said, it's the easiest way to climb if you're, I guess, an underdog or a fringe tier 2 team type of thing. It's the easiest way to move on up, even though it might be temporary, because obviously after a while, the better teams are also gonna, start working on Nuke, because it's gonna be a part of the map pool. But it might be just what you need to get that foothold in and still get the respect ban on Nuke, and that means a ton in a veto stage. You can see here, like depending on what kind of veto process you have. With a map, with a veto system like we have now here, this is favoring SK, because they can get to, as you said, they have a small map pool, so they can ban off their weaknesses instantly without having that fear of, we're definitely going to lose whatever Hellraisers pick first.
Yeah.
So, depending on the situation, it could be an absolutely massive gain.
Yeah, this is definitely, especially this veto system they have here is going to favor underdogs a lot, because they get to veto either they can veto a weakness of their own, and they can maybe even veto the strength of their opponent as well. Because that's the debate you a lot of times have. Are we going to veto something we don't like to play, or are we going to veto their best map? And now they get to do both. So obviously that's going to help when they're, let's say, teams start playing against Navi, for example.
Yeah.
That's going to be a massive asset.
Before we talk about who we think this veto has favoured, a big shout out to some of our sponsors, esportspool.com. You can sign up to them by clicking in the banner under the stream, egb.com as well, and CSGO Fast, G2A, LiveCap, and of course Twitch. We are streaming on Twitch. Now, the veto, going back to the veto, which maps do you think the veto has favoured here? Which team do you think the veto has favoured?
Well, I think the veto process is favorable for SK, but I still think in the end it's favorable for Hellraisers overall. Whether it's going to be a 2-0 or 2-1 is a bit up in the air for me, but I definitely think that overall Hellraisers should be stronger on actually, well, all maps.
I think generally speaking, this when both teams get to veto 2 maps first, this is kind of equal actually, because both teams like to play a similar map pool. But like Vena was alluding to there, basically the fact that I just feel like Hellraisers right now is the stronger team of the two, and they should be taking this.
And what about you, Casper Cadian? You going to side with your Danish brothers or defect to Hellraisers?
Sadly not. I mean, I could see them winning against them later on in the tournament when having some games on their hands, but I know
Monty
they
actually looks very, sorry to butt in, but Monty does not look too up to the weather right now.
No.
He's looking a bit quiet.
Yeah, we are out quite late, so it's understandable.
Yes.
But I think as soon as the game goes
Oh,
on,
wow.
the adrenaline is going to be pumping, and I think it's going to be fine. But in terms of the map pool, I think it's a pretty equal map pool for both teams. I think both teams with the veto system expected coming in to the tournament to play these maps, so no surprises, no one making some risky move or anything. It's all by the numbers. And to be fair, somehow it should seem weird that we are favoring Hellraiser, since these two lineups with these five players met like 2 weeks ago, and it was a 3-0 in a semi-final. But something is just telling me that it's going to be a 2-0 for Hellraisers, potentially SK taking over
think
pass.
That was a bit of an anomaly, though, with the SK that you had for those 2-3 games at Gfinity was just, everything falling into
Something
place,
you
stars
see
aligning.
once every year.
Yeah,
kind of thing. It's like
a
Christmas.
shooting
It
star.
comes once a year.
Yeah, it's a shooting star.
If it was anomalous, what was it that they were doing that was so different that allowed them to play like that? Because even if it was, an
I don't
anomaly,
think anything
a
really.
random
No,
result.
it's just more of the case that, if you
Individually.
have 5 players all playing well, because that's rarely going to happen, that you have all 5 just hitting all their cylinders. But if that happens, then you can get a result like you had at Gfinity.
That's the problem, right? They have skill ceiling on this team, but that they're unable to get more than 60% out of it most of the time. So, like I said, Christmas is only once a year, and they already had it this year. So it is hard for me to see. The only map that I can see really SK having a possibility on is Overpass, basically. In
Casper, if the team was better structured and they were using strategies maybe that were newer, fresher, harder to predict, as opposed to what you've been saying where they've been doing things very similarly for the past 5 months, could they hit their skill ceiling more efficiently? Could they play on a better level if they were changing the way they're structured?
For sure, like it changes a lot when the opponent knows which way you're running into the sides when executing. What kind of Molotovs are you using? Like what kind of positions are you unable to be in? So for sure that has stop smiling at me, boys. For sure that has a really big effect, because when they already are one step ahead of you in terms of the mindset, they will have a big advantage. And as you asked about like Gfinity and so on, that's doesn't really matter when people are on point, but that requires that the players are on point. Then, if you're hitting shots, it doesn't really matter if the opponents know what you're doing. But I think that it's really important for them to come home, prepare for the next kind of tournaments, elaborate on the strategies, make some kind of fakes of them, and even make a completely new playstyle on some of the maps to just surprise people.
But for you who've actually played with SK, do you think this is a fault of not to put all the weight or all the blame on one player, Asilian being the in-game leader, like unwillingness to actually adapt, or is it just a team-wide thing that they're not really confident in trying out new stuff?
To be honest, on that point, I think the team should be more helpful as well. Like, as you say, you can't really put it on one guy, even though he is the guy calling the shots. I mean, it must be frustrating for the other players to keep running into people who knows what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So they should be like, okay, guys, let's join a server, let's try and change some things, instead of just like playing. But the thing is, as you guys know, it's hard with all these tournaments coming up. You don't even have a lot of time to go in on servers and prepare these things, and you need to try them out in scrims because you don't want to just like YOLO it through in a big tournament or anything. So it is hard. It's not like they don't know that they need to change stuff. They just should be able to somehow schedule and structure it better.
From an outsider point of view, for what it looks like to be, it's like they have the tools once again as individuals. That you have Pimp, you have Magic Spoy, great riflers, you have Freeze,
Stable Opera,
and then you have Marty with the experience, and then you have an in-game leader in Asilian. What I think still they lack is leadership. If they had someone that it was like who definitely took the reins really and like was using those utilities they have as in the players properly and was good at like giving very clear calls during mid rounds during the game, basically calling the right strats at the right time, I can see that working out. But as it is, obviously I have never been a part of this team. Just as an outsider, it feels like that's where they lack the most.
Well, obviously, it's not really wrong because also Cillian, it is his first time leading, and you know from years of experience that when someone has his first time leading, it's not going to be great always.
It's
you know,
not pretty. I've been there.
Yeah,
Been there.
it's not easy because you have this feeling, and when you're under the leadership of someone else, it's easy to be like, I can do that better, I can change stuff. But when you're actually in the spot, in the situation where you have to make all the decisions, you have to be the one that your teammate is going to be looking at to get an answer when it's 15, 14 and so on.
And
that's hard.
And also the thing that it's all about also body language of the leader. It doesn't even matter if you're making the best call in the world, even if you make a like a average call, as long as you do it with a lot of confidence.
You need to own it and be
110% committed to what you're doing. You can still win it. Doesn't matter if it's not the best call.
Now, all three of you have played CS to one level or another, so you're in a way that you have an insight into the game that others may not. You know, I've not played CS to the level that you guys have.
Global elite.
Huh?
Global elite.
Yeah, sure, global elite. But what I'd love from you guys' perspective in that sense is what can teams like Hellraisers and SK do to kind of ascend the level they're at and really reach the peak levels and start? But like, what can teams at that level do to reach the tier 1 level? What is the difference? Obviously, it's quite general. It's maybe different team to team, but what are the general things that teams like that can do?
To be super blunt, get better.
Yeah.
No, but obviously, like it's a mixture of things. Some teams rise the ranks through new innovative strategies. Others do it because they've put in an immense amount of hours to the point where they actually slowly improve as players. So it's obviously not going to be just over the span of 3-4 weeks. It's going to be over the course of 6 months type of deal. If you look at how Orbit have done it, I don't think I know anyone who's played more CS than Victor. For instance, like that guy's just like probably closing in on 8,000 hours or something by now. But you can see it's been a steady rise for him, and he's slowly getting better and better. And the same thing goes for the team as well. So they're slowly improving overall. And they started out by having a bit of a blast into the scene by having innovative tactics, which we saw at actually at Starlighter when they beat Envy, and that's how they kind of made the mark initially. And they've gone off of that. And I think on SK side, obviously it's going to be a thing of actually innovating what they're doing. That's going to take them or make them harder to play versus, and obviously that's going to help them rise. And for Hellraisers, I think it's more of a time issue. They need to get acquainted with playing with Bondic.
I think, generally speaking, if you compare tier 1 teams to anything below that, the massive big difference is, other than skill, is the mid rounds and the late rounds. How they do with the 2-on-2s, the 2-on-3s, the 3-on-3s, the special situations where individuals have to be. Someone needs to take the reins, someone needs to call what we're going to do, how they play together as a team. One thing like comes to mind for example from Katowice, Luminosity was playing on Overpass against Fnatic, I think, and I was watching them play a retake where everything looked like it was just pitch perfect. The way someone was flashing in, and then one guy was looking at an angle, and the other one was smart enough to realize that his team was watching that angle that he was looking at the same time as well. So he was looking at the other angle. It all looked like it was scripted basically. So it's all about these small little details, as the after plans and all the 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, and so forth that it should be better at.
Well, Casper, I must interject there, and we will finish on Natu's point because we are ready to get into the match. And so we're going to head over to Henry G and Sadakist.
They only ever put you first when it's a British person. That's what I've concluded.
Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Hi, guys. It's me, Henry G, and this guy, Sadakist. Matt, how are you? Enjoying Ukraine?
Yeah, I always do.
It's quite an echoey room in there, isn't it?
It is echoey. I like it.
It's good.
It's going to be really nice
Hear
and
my own
dramatic when we start yelling and screaming and not making much sense like we normally do.
So
I do like Ukraine, though.
Yeah?
Vodka, great. Cheekbones, great.
He's all about the cheekbones. He does talk about that a lot.
And collarbones.
The aesthetics of people.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of that here.
Yep.
But anyway, let's get on to the game, shall we? SK Gaming versus Hellraisers. Two turbulent teams, I would say. Lots of ups and downs recently. SK bringing back Freeze. How do you feel about that?
Freeze is underrated, in my opinion.
Me too.
T-side, not the most flashy opera because of the fact that he does have a screw in his index finger and can't quite use it. He's limited. Is it his index or his ring? They were saying it is his index. Yeah. Okay. Keyboard side, obviously, not mouse. It does limit his movement mechanics, so he's not the most flashy opera in terms of taking peaks, but he's extremely good at holding an angle as a turret,
Sure.
as a CT side opera. Cash A site, I think he's one of the best players at playing in behind the quad position, which isn't easy to do. It's a very close position when you get smoked off. So I think he's very, very good. I think he's underrated in that sense.
Another player on the SK team you have to talk about is Magic Boy as well, or Magisk Boy, whichever way you're inclined. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Like, he's one of the players that really impressed me when we first saw him in that Frag by Masters tournament. That's actually when Casper was part of that lineup as well. But in terms of how I think this is going to go down, I do think SK a little bit dated with the way they approach the game. It seems like they are relying on old strategies, and it seems like their recent results suggest things are going to get better at this event particularly soon, because obviously you just DreamHack Tour with Cadian stepping in, and it didn't go too well there, and Frisk is coming in. I know he's played a lot recently, but is he able to just jump back into the lineup straight away and everything to be absolutely perfect? I'm not so sure. Oscar as well. Let's talk about this guy. What can you say about this guy?
Yeah, Oscar's nuts. Absolutely. I mean, Natu said it best when you sit beside and watch him, sit behind him and watch him. He just makes AWPing look so easy. He is a very individually skilled player. He's, the first FPL success story, if you will. And I think there's a lot of people that need to be aware of how good he is, and the potential that lies within him. Bringing in a guy like Bondik as well next to him brings some consistency to this team. We always said on flip side, Bondik was the reliable player in a lot of ways. So they finished second at the minor. They'll be at the major qualifier, and I think this is one of the best.
StarCraft, World of Tanks, and League of Legends. EGB.com. You know for sure who's going to win.
Getting tired of playing with the usual skins, but don't have enough money to buy a new one? Get rich fast with CSGoFast.com. CSGO Fast. It's a strong chance of winning in every game. Several rooms with different game modes. Daily, more than 1,000 games, 5,000 players, and 25,000 skins at stake. You don't need much in order to sweep the board.
Angry because you missed a big play? Tired of staying up all night to create highlight videos? Introducing LiveCut.tv. Simply press the capture button and bam! A highlight from the past 60 seconds will be instantly recorded. Get posts from streamers and fans around the world. Achieve legendary status Kappa.
Welcome to the secondary stream here, live from the Olympic Arena in Kiev. It is the Star Series iLeague Invitational. My name is Blue. Joining me here is probably a pretty new face to the CSGO casting scene. How's it going, man?
Pretty new, yeah. I am TomBiz14 for anybody who doesn't know, and yeah, I guess I'm pretty new, just pretty new. This is probably my first big event. For anybody who did watch the build-up to the iLeague, I did most of the casting for that, but apart from that, in terms of events, yeah, I am pretty new, as you put it yourself.
So, starting things off here today, we are going to be doing Worst Players, which is Simple's new team, for anybody who did not catch that bit of news coming out about a week ago, taking on Virtus.Pro. We should be getting started here in just a few minutes. The knife round has already concluded, and you can see the bans and picks coming up on your screen. We're going to be starting off on Mirage. Virtus.Pro did win the knife round, meaning they're going to be starting off here on the CT side more than likely, which means the worst players are going to have to jump onto that T side to begin. Now, you were talking about the map pool, and it's a bit interesting, of course, because it favors into Virtus.Pro pretty heavily, correct?
Oh, yeah. Like, I saw the first two maps, and I was like, straight away, like, I was worried about this matchup anyway because of the fact, like, obviously Virtus.Pro are the huge favorites in this one. It's a brand new team. They've already lost to some Tier 2, Tier 3 even teams. So coming up against Virtus.Pro, they should be stuffed anyway, but then they picked, well, the maps were Mirage and then Cash, which are, well, even in history, they've been known for very good Virtus.Pro maps, but even now, they're still pretty good on the board anyway. Like, as Virtus.Pro go, you'd say, okay, the two maps they can actually still play pretty well are Cash and Mirage, and they're going to be the first two. However, if it goes to Cobble, then worst players have a chance, but
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, I'm going to be honest. I think that this is going to be a pretty clear-cut victory.
Yeah, and of course, Virtus.Pro, some would think, of course, that given the recent months that they wouldn't be doing so well, that maybe there would be a chance for a bit of an upset here, but they've been starting to come up on the rise again, especially looking at the bigger events we saw them come to leading up to the Major. Didn't really do that well back at SIVA and whatnot, but that could just be a one-off event. And now coming into here, and especially with the region we're playing in, I think that they're going to be doing pretty well here.
Well, also, the thing with Virtus.Pro is it always came, like in the past anyway, when they played against smaller teams, they used to just crush them. It wasn't like some teams where it's like they go close against anyone. Virtus.Pro were always just someone where it was like, especially in the past, where it's like, okay, we're playing someone worse. Like, I remember, I think, specifically like Cloud9s and people like that, like they would just destroy them.
Yeah.
Like, especially NA, I think. Sorry to bring it up, but they used to just absolutely wreck them. So, yeah, we are now going into the game screen, as you can see. And, well, starting off with the pistol round, we have a, well, armor on the majority of players fixed with a little bit of utility to go with, plus a P250. And Pasha looks like he's actually picked up nothing so far. So, I'm not sure whether or not we're going to see anything on Tim. Yeah, he's going to be the utility player going into this round.
So, the starting push now coming out from the worst player's side, moving themselves closer to the B bomb site, but there is a decent counter coming out from the side of Virtus.Pro 2. You can see them already getting pretty aggressive, pushing their way in through the halls now. They're going to take that duel, and Snacks is going to pick up the first 2 kills, and Violent along with Simple both going down, even moving in there. They're going to be able to pick up a 3rd kill as well on a fix. So not the hottest start, and they get park control too. So Virtus.Pro getting a very good amount of control right at the beginning.
Well, sheer aggression coming out in the pistol round from them already, just absolutely obliterating their opposition. Arch will manage to bring one back into their favor, but it is going to be a 3 versus 1. He's going to have a huge amount to do, and Taz is going to finish him off with a 1-0 lead for Virtus.Pro.
So starting off there, and unfortunately, just not expecting that amount of aggression to come through the apartments there, catches them completely off guard, and their entire push is just decimated before they can even start it, unfortunately. So VP through that very successful move are going to be able to get a nice early start, and they're wasting no time trying to stack up money. Not a single rifle coming out onto the board in the second round. We're just going to see 5 SMGs going all across the board.
Well, no respect play coming in straight away off the bat. They're not even going to bother with the rifles. We do see that Deagle coming in onto Simple straight away. He's going to try and do some damage with that. We will see Crush finding a trade kill as Taz finds the initial, but it is going to be a 4 versus 4. The SMGs are still with Virtus.Pro, and I feel like, well, it should be around for VP nonetheless, but Fix is going to find one back, and it's going to be coming into a 4 versus 3, 4 versus 2 now.
Arch finding that kill now. We'll see Crush looking for another pickup there, but Snacks rolling it through the connector, picks one up. Simple response, takes down Snacks. And that leaves only Pasha as the last one alive here. Trying to creep his way in. Nicely done. Picks up that first kill. Tries to combo the spray, but a little bit off the mark there under the bomb planter. So we will see that going onto the ground. 2 left alive here. Arch heavily injured, down to 41 HP. But he's going to be staying safe. Stuck outside, and also missing that first shot. But Pasha trying to take this duel at long range here as he pushes his way back in. Still looking for the connection. Can't find anything, but he's getting closer now. Deagle shot's hitting. Pasha down to 51 HP, but he finds the kill. And the plant, it's going to be out in the open, so very dangerous for him. And he hasn't even found Arch just as of yet. Still looking for it here, and a no kit, so it's going to be the full 10-second defuse. Trying to push. I think he spotted Arch. He's just going to go full aggression, look for this kill here. The flashbang goes out, doesn't catch it, finds the kill, but there's no time left to grab that defuse. We're going to see the worst players respond, and they'll tie things up immediately, 1-1.
And maybe we may see Virtus.Pro just calm down a little bit. They went for that full SMG buy, and they got punished for it. They lost the round, the bomb went down, they didn't have a kit on Pasha, and considering they bought SMGs, you sort of expect there to be a kit lying around somewhere, but no, it didn't seem to be in place, and they are just going to force back straight away. And already we see, well, 4 rifles coming in onto T side. They're not going to make the same mistake, and well, it was a nice play coming out there from Arch. He gets himself a couple of kills in the round, and well, without him, they probably wouldn't have been able to get that bomb down at all.
Virtus.Pro, they'll look for the aggressive response in this one. Not going to take the loss of that last round very lightly whatsoever, and we can even see Pasha going up to a rifle now, with the others reinvesting themselves, but it's going to be Crush that finds that first kill onto Neo, taking him down. Early mid-control for the worst players, and not a whole lot of intel to be gained through any amount of aggression to come out closer to the B side or even towards mid here, so a bit dangerous in that Virtus.Pro are going to be sort of stuck, and with them now formulating towards a B hit, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Pasha to try and hold things off all over towards that site.
It is the 1 rifle in play, and we know, of course, Pasha in the past, someone who could go absolutely huge. He is going to be outranking these players by quite a bit, but let's see if he can do anything here. Going to be finding the first kill, the flashbang, not going to catch him quite in time. However, instantly we see Simple picking up the trade, someone who does need to go huge in this series, and he has found at least a kill in this round so far. There is a few SMGs, a 5-7 left in play to try and make something of this round, but Crush is going to find one more, and this is just looking like a simple cleanup round coming in for the worst players. I don't think there's too much the remaining players should be able to do. However, Taz will be finding one, now very low on health. Bialy 19 HP, just wants to try and take someone with him here, earn a little bit of extra cash, and that's just what he will do.
So he goes down the worst players. They'll pick up their second, and this should force Virtus.Pro into a little bit more of a respectful economical situation. Most of these players are sitting at around $2,000 each. So we're going to have to go for the full save here and start building it up. But this is amazing for the worst players to start off this well on the T side here, getting this bit of an edge. And especially since Virtus.Pro did decide to go for the aggressive force on the third round instead of just saving for it there. Now they've just absolutely screwed the pooch as far as the CT economy is concerned, and they're going to have to build it from the ground up, which should put the worst players up to around 4 rounds before we even see our first real gun round coming into the picture.
It looks like we got a little bit of middle aggression coming in from the CT side at the moment, but it is just going to be a straight A hit. The SMG from Crush going to be holding middle, and while it does have an opportunity to find a few kills here, we're going to see Taz picking up one, but as I said, this should just be easy frags now for the T side. Going to build up their bank a little bit more. If they can drop another player, at least the CT side, they could have the chance to leave them a little bit low, but Neo's just completely missing the shots, and Crush is going to earn himself an extra $600, and that's going to be 3-1 up now for the worst players.
So, to be expected at this point, but the money actually not so bad for Virtus.Pro. Maybe could have saved one more, just gone for a light buy here so that they could get full utility heading into the next run and an op as well, but they're going to decide against it and just go for the big buy here. All M4s, armor for everybody. Smokes, big thing that they're missing, those mollies, along with the HE grenades. Only Snacks is going to have one, so they're going to have a lot of trouble holding off a big formulated push from the worst player should we decide to see one, but there's no op coming into the picture as of yet either from the T side, so not to worry about that. What we do have though is this aggression coming out from mid, and that's Taz finding a first kill. Overstays is welcome though, and Fix and Crush trade out 2 more kills. There is Snacks finding another pickup there on to Fix, so we'll be down to a 3-on-3. Not looking too bad for Virtus.Pro, but now their own defenses will have to be split up.
Yeah, they did have a slightly weakened buy on the CT side, so getting those trades isn't the worst thing in the world. However, the defense, as you said, will be split now. And as you can see, Pasha alone currently on the B side. It does look like that's where things are going to be built up at the moment. So he will have to try and find at least 1 kill. He did do it previously, just wasn't quite able to fall back in time. And, well, Feeling going to be looking to try and find that entry kill onto the side. They're taking things nice and slow. They've got over a minute left on the clock, the worst players. I don't think they're going to rush into things here. And, well, although Arch is a little bit low, I think they should be fine, especially utility-wise. They still have a couple of Molotovs and could easily force Pasha out of a couple of positions. But here we go. Feeling going to be throwing in the Molotov to stop anybody close. He's going to go for the peek. He's going to spot Pasha. Pasha needs to take down at least one, and he will do that. So it is a 2v2 retake. Now going to be coming in. No kit on the CT side. As you said, they did skimp a little bit on the utility. And well, here comes the retake from Virtus.Pro.
He's got no assistance, though. Bialy's still pretty long way away, moving his way up cap, but no one spotted Snacks as of yet inside of the apartment. Still has that element of surprise. And if Bialy takes the attention first, then this could end the round right here. This could make a very simple retake. There's going to be Snacks peeking out. They did spot him early, but he still finds the kill, looking for the second one, sitting behind the box.
Oh,
and it's actually going to be Bialy that strikes last there as he moves in, finds Arch out in the open. And that'll be a nice retake coming out from the CTs here. They'll pick up the first row gun round and keep things close at 2-3.
That play was crucial from Snacks, though. If he did go down there, it would have left Bialy in a horrible situation because he did peek a little bit earlier than his teammate. But after he got that initial kill, you could see the other T player just looking around to try and find Snacks, and instantly Bialy got the trade kill. So nice work there coming out from Virtus.Pro. They are now back on their buy. It is going to be Pasha actually coming in with a mag, so possibly trying to farm a little bit of cash, but straight away we see Simple on that AWP, and we saw at the major how influential that weapon was. So whether he can do it again, we'll have to just wait and see.
The window smoke going to be coming back out, tossing it further towards mid there, but we're going to see Crush moving out to take a little bit better control.
This is a very skimpy buy actually coming out from worst players as well. They've got a couple of players on pistols. They did do that just so they could get a few nades in play, but Crush has already burnt out all his utility. And while the CT side, they already have 3 players over towards the safe side. The Tech-9's close up, could do a nice amount of damage, and straight away, Bialy, nice reactions there, finds 2, and that's great work from him. We will see Simple trade 1 back, but great plays coming out from Bialy. A trade kill coming in the meantime, though. We will find 1 from Simple, but it is now going to be Crush, Deagle alone, and Taz will finish off the last 2 players.
So Virtus.Pro, after a little bit of a bumpy start here, getting themselves back into the picture pretty quickly now. Economy's still a little bit shaky here or there, but the free recovery of the op coming off of Simple is going to be a good pickup. Still working with the Mag 7 on Pasha, but that's coming in from the previous round, so just saving up his own money. And the rest of these players only going to have to go for 2 more full rebuys on Neo and Taz being dropped in the previous round. And they've completely broken the worst players now, of course, so they're just down on PG50. We should not expect too much to come out from them this round. What we saw in the second round was just a little bit greedy.
Look at the bomb. That is just the bomb rushed out middle. It's left it completely in the open. However, it does look like Snacks is going to be getting tagged very, very low. Neo will come into support. But 2 players now are currently low, and already Snacks is going to get dropped. So damage is being done at the moment by these pistols. Very little invested, and Arch has actually managed to recover that AWP as well. And of course, a glass cannon AWP, that's definitely something to be reckoned with at this point. So something for worse players to go within this round. Of course, we still expect VP to firmly take this one, but of course, more damage done. The CT economy isn't actually that strong to go with anyway, so let's see what Arch can actually perform with this AWP.
Bit unfortunate with the timing on a swap over to the pistol there, as he did have someone peeking him back over by the connector. That would have been Taz that he could have taken down, but now Taz is just going to safely smoke things off. Won't be seeing anything there. Pasha shuts down the first player, Falan, that tries to push his way into the B-bomb site. And that just leaves Crush alive still with Arch at this point. And with Arch going down, now only Crush with the P250. He does have bomb control. If he can find this kill onto Pasha, may be able to sneak his way into the site. Nicely done. Grabs the headshot at the very least. And also he's got a pretty low player in the site, Neo. Only at 7 HP, but he doesn't catch him on the side of the site. So he will take down Crush. And yep, we'll see the recovery coming out. Virtus.Pro now take the lead, 4-3.
And they pick up a second as well. So at the moment, it seemed to be Neo, well, recently anyway, or in the past, who was picking up that AWP quite often. But in this game, it's now Snacks and Pasha coming up in with the AWP. So may just be something for Mirage. I'm not too sure, but clearly they have switched things up on this map. And let's see if it actually does catch up, because of course 2 AWPs, it does leave that sort of pick play style there for VP, but it could completely catch worse players off guard. But on the opposing side, we have Simple with his AWP as well, so both sides.
We've seen the double op setups becoming like more and more prevalent on every single team here. Unfortunately, Snacks not going to have best of shots to start things off, and Arch picks up those first 2 kills. Neo does respond with 2 of his own. We are going to see Neo finding more there. He's up to 4 of them now, as he's just basically killed the entire push back over here towards Cat. And finally, Pasha, armed with the op, moves in, which shuts down the final player back by the apartments.
I think I've been silenced. But why didn't Neo pick up the AWP? Well, there you go. That's why. He'll just completely mow down the opposition on short. They didn't have a chance. Don't even think he took that much damage in the end, and his economy is booming at the moment. And as we can see, worst players are back down to a bit of a Tech 9 buy, possibly going to go for the A smokes here, as you can see. Getting up close and personal with those Tech 9, definitely a possibility. The bomb is going to be the main aim here, but anything else is just gravy. So we'll see what they can actually hope to achieve in this round. Of course, still 2 players over towards the B site. AWP currently on Pasha now, so Snacks has given that one up after missing a couple of shots, but here comes the aggressive push. We're going to see Taz taking down 2 instantly, and it's going to be down to just the remaining players, and while the counter nades have just worked absolutely perfectly, they're not getting anywhere near that site, and Archie's going to get finished off.
It's really just a failed attempt to even get close to the site from the worst players. They don't even get themselves past the CT ramp, so shut down pretty handily. And this is becoming a problem now for the worst players, is just not being able to impact enough to get close to that site on those eco rounds. Doing some good damage earlier on, but rounds like that are not going to fly at all, unfortunately. Either just slow things down, or you need to be much better on aim when it comes to those entries, as otherwise Virtus.Pro are just going to absolutely destroy you.
But the other thing to mention at the moment is Fillin is yet to get a kill on the board, so that's a little bit problematic. Also, someone we mentioned all the way through, this is basically Team Simple, and apart from a couple of sort of worthless frags with the AWP, he hasn't actually done too much. We haven't seen any entries from him as of yet, and well, that's really what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for him to make a big impact on this map so far, but we're going to see some aggression up mid. Already a tag coming into Crush, and he's going to be getting relatively low. We are seeing some presence over towards the B site, middle and A, so it is just some lurk performance, but at the moment it's going to be Pasha finding a shot through the wall onto Simple, again, not making a single impact with that AWP.
Neo gonna go for the peek, trying to catch this player. Crush sitting further behind the boxes there at top mid, but no luck in taking him down as of yet. And Arch, in the meantime, sneaking his way through. Pasha and Taz take down both of the players near middle. Crush responds with his own kill, but now he's extremely low. Down to 23 HP, and he's one of the few left alive here for worst players. So as soon as he peeks out, no utility left to free himself. He's a dead man. Fix did work his way onto the site, but Bialy is able to handle that final duel very nicely, giving Virtus.Pro now his 7th round. Basically running away with the game at this point. The economy definitely has been stabilized. Got 12.6k sitting on Neo. A little bit lower for some of these other guys, but definitely still runnable for at least 2 to 3 rounds if we were to start to see the T's pick up some of their own here. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And I mean, they're not really planting. They haven't had a single plant in the past 5 rounds. So their economy is just the T-set economy. This is just in an abysmal place. They can't even consistently buy from round to round anymore, despite the fact they're now in the full losing bonus.
Well, it just seemed like Virtus.Pro made a little bit of a mistake early on. They underestimated their opponent, and then when they got on the buy, they've been pretty dominant, to be honest. There hasn't been too many questionable rounds. A few pistol buys that actually went quite well for the worst players, but apart from that, it's when they get on the rifles. Again, we've seen nothing from that AWP. We've seen no entry kills. It's just been problematic, and the CT side have got the initial frag every single round. But here we go, closing down Pasha. We're going to be seeing him actually get the initial kill with the CZ. Going to pick up the AWP next, and he's going to get that kill as well. Crush going to take down one, but he'll be instantly traded, and it's going to be down to Fix in a 1 versus 4 with a Deeg, no utility, and, well, just hope, I guess.
We're trying to use him as sort of a late entry to the A site since he had so little to work with here, but trying to line up some Deagle shots. It's not really going to connect anything at all. Virtus.Pro stack up yet another one here as they continue to grow. Finally, we'll see the worst players with enough cash to go for a big full buy here, which includes like full utility, full armor, AKs, the op coming back on a simple and everything. And we saw this had a big impact previously when he did finally manage to get this into his hands. It's just unfortunately we need some of the other guys in the team to step up. As you mentioned before, it's sort of Team Simple, and he was a big part of the first gunner run when we actually had him working with the op. It's just since then we haven't really been able to see this too much, so now we will get another crack at it, however.
Yeah, it's going to be the initial pick though again, going to VP. It just seems... Well, Simple again, he's not able to find that entry kill. He gets taken down, and it's just frag after frag after frag for Virtus.Pro. They're just taking no liberties at this point, just pushing up mid, taking over that control, and really leaving the teams with very little to play with. Like, the fact is, most teams on this map like to be able to have middle control so they can sort of break onto a site, split onto A, split onto B. They've just not had that opportunity, and the one time they did, they got shut down by Neo. However, Fix going to be pushing in. He will find one trade frag back. He's got to watch out for Snacks now. Back on that AWP, the secondary AWP in play once more. We'll see whether or not... Well, he's actually going to get smoked out here, so the bomb may actually be able to go down. However, Taz pushing in. Going to be hiding in the corner. We're going to see another kill, so a little bit better now. But Pasha, he's going to take down one more, and surely there's nothing that can be done. Philin going to get tagged, and eventually he gets taken down by Snacks as well. So a couple of players drop. They do get the bomb down, so that will increase their buy in the next round with the loss bonus. But unfortunately, it just looks like they've hit a brick wall after the pistol round. Well, after that break in the second round.
I mean, in this like 6 or 7 round sequence that we've seen Virtus.Pro go on now, and in the rounds where we never even saw them get a plant, as I mentioned previously, we were seeing the worst players do a pretty good job of like trading kills, at least trying to keep the CT economy under their control, but now it's just gotten completely out of hand, unfortunately. And for the worst players here, finally being able to get a plant, so we will see another buy coming out of them, but this needs to be a consistent thing we see. And also, though, to be completely honest, they just need to start stacking up rounds, because, you know, like a 12-3 half, in theory, it's not going to be workable at all, jumping onto the CT side, even if you win the pistol and get the starting advantage.
Well, Blue, do I mention the word pause in this scenario? I just feel like things are starting to get a little bit out of control. I think that's 8 rounds in a row now for Virtus.Pro. We are going to see again the play coming in towards the B side. Bialy going to spot them out, going to be trying to find that first frag, but going to throw out some counter nades to at least slow down that push. And another thing we haven't seen is they seem to just dedicate themselves to a site. However, Fixie's going to find that first kill. Crush in the perfect position to find the second, and he will get traded quickly by Neo, but nonetheless, they do have an advantage for the first time in a long time. We're going to see Simple find an instant trade as well, so a 4 versus 2. Surely this is going to be a scenario that worst players just can't afford to lose, but Pasha, he will find one back, and there is another player low as well in the Palace area.
Fix trying to figure out if he wants to peek out to this. Does spot the player over there by the steps, and also Pasha starting to rotate back over from Ticket to add more pressure to the staircase, but it'll be smoked off. It'll be safe for now. That Molly's going to throw Fix back and almost would have connected onto him, pretty much guaranteeing his own death, but it's not going to be the case for now. They move up onto the site. You know, getting a little bit adventurous there, moving in to try and catch a player by Tetris, but there's no one there. And as he sneaks further into the site here, going to try to take down the planter, succeeds in doing so, and that's a very ballsy move. We see Simple striking back as he takes down another player from the side of Virtus.Pro, bringing things into a 2-on-1, leaving it all in Pasha's hands now. No utility. He does have an upgraded pistol to try and get a little bit closer to these guys, but he's looking for Simple. Just can't seem to find him. He should have just spotted him there with a Tetris, but no. Simple's going to miss the shot rather. And Fix, pushing himself back out from the T ramp, is going to shut things down. Finally, another round up on the board here for the Ts.
That was much better from them. It just seemed that time they found that initial kill. Bialy got taken down relatively quickly, and also the fact there, right at the end, they were actually playing very close to each other, so there was always an opportunity for the trade kill. The only thing is Philin yet on the board? I still feel he's still yet to get a kill.
And 13.
Although I don't like to talk about fragging in CSGO, like it's not always the most important thing, but 0 to 13, that's just problematic. That's just... Well, it's like not having a player.
The big problem is that once we get onto the CT side, this is going to become an even bigger issue, simply because of the fact that, all right, in theory on the T side, you can sort of just keep that guy in the back and not really have him do anything. Whereas on the CT side, like he's going to have to be responsible for a very specific part of the defense, either A, B, or mid. So considering that, if he's not able to get a single frag, that area is essentially just going to be open season for the entire T side as soon as you jump over to there. But get wrecked, Flan. As you see that first kill being picked up, Simple does respond, and now they're going to try to go for the A-tick again. This actually does leave Bialy in a bit of a peculiar spot. He's now basically stuck here by Firebox, so not going to see him able to survive for too long. Fix picking up 2 more kills here. He takes down Taz, and Neo, nicely done, pushing his own way back in. It's Neo, along with Pasha, again, that have to try and clutch this out. Neo finding that kill, evens things back out, but Pasha also still has to move his way back into the site.
Well, Simple playing with the AWP in the corner. If they did throw that Molotov in, he would be in a very horrible situation. Pasha still with the Molotov in hand. Crush going to be playing back. They haven't actually planted the bomb as of yet, so they will have to peek out to try and find something, and already we're going to see the drop of Crush, and now it's down to Simple. We've seen him in clutch situations before. He's going to find the first. That's a nice shot from him. Looking for the second, and he will find it, and that's going to be a 5th round for worst players, and now that T side's not looking as bad as it was before.
No, not at all. In theory now, if they can grab 9-6, because they have eaten their way a little bit through this CT-sided economy, we should be able to see enough guns donated over from Pasha to give everybody the full buy, but an op was actually just dropped for him, so should make this final buy a bit peculiar. And actually, we still ever see everybody with rifles and whatnot, so they managed to make it through, but worst players have just as strong as a buy at this point. So nothing holding them back, and they finally found a sort of a hole they can punch through here in the defense of Virtus.Pro, which just seems sort of impenetrable for the 6 or 7 round streak they went on, but now they're bouncing back quite nicely. They could make this a pretty competitive half if they manage to pick up this one.
I think it was Fix there coming in with the entry kills that really did make that round a little bit more interesting. The fact that he was just able to walk in, find 2 heads, and well, it just opened up the side completely. It did end up coming back down to a 1v2, but luckily, Simple in those situations, you'd probably bet on him in most scenarios. He's a phenomenal player with that AWP. But this time, again, they're just gathering up towards A. I feel like they've just given up on B altogether. It's just going to be the A push again, and Taz's position is absolutely perfect. He's going to spray down one and find the second. Villain, welcome to the scoreboard, but it's not long-lived, and he's already out of the round. And now Arch in a 1 versus 3. It looks like we're having a 10-5 half, unless he can pull off something absolutely phenomenal, and the bomb is in a horrible position.
Arch trying to hold this off, gives himself away. They know exactly where he is. Finds 1 kill, but does not last long at all. Pasha immediately peeks back out from the steps, gets the trade. And that's going to end the half, guys. 10-5 in the favor of Virtus.Pro. A bit of a good streak there. The worst players do manage to strike back and keep this thing a little bit more even.
Well, after 8 rounds in a row, I sort of thought that things could go from very, very bad to even worse, but it looked like they came back a little bit, got a couple of rounds, and if they can get that pistol, yeah, there's a chance they could bring this back. However, I feel like the T side should be much more practiced, much better for Virtus.Pro, because, well, you have to remember, worst players, they have not been together for very long at all.
And also, obviously, I mean, we brought this up already, but the Filan, or actually don't know how to pronounce his name, so I do apologize.
I was going to say Filan.
If I'm butchering it, but yeah, Filan, for him with 1-15, like, regardless, as soon as Virtus.Pro find where he's playing, that's going to be like the site to go for every single round, considering how poor his performance was. So unless he has like a miraculously different tune-up of his own play here on the CT side, then it's going to be a little bit rough here for the guys on worst players heading into the second half. But we will go into it now. So
well, it's also that fact when you get to 1-15, sort of the mentality just starts to drag you down even more, even if you are a good CT player. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he can come back. We are going to see Archer with the utility for this round, and the same for Snacks on the opposing side. It looks like they are going to be going straight towards that B site, so possibly just going to try and crush out the opposition straight off the bat, almost push them straight back into the ground. And, well, we're going to be seeing Snacks just flashing, smoking out, and it's going to be down to Phil, and it is going to be the man of the moment to try and find something. He will double his score, but that's going to be it, and he's going to go straight down. It's going to be down to Simple now. He's got the pistol. Crush will find 1, so not doing too badly in this round. Going to be looking for a kill, but it's going to be Bialy 3 versus 3 at this point. Going to be seeing the rotation coming in, but they are 2 of them towards market, 1 towards short, so they have a little bit of a position here, but Snacks, very good position to try and hold off the one player over towards this point. Needs to find this kill. Crush to just make this a little bit of an easier retake, and Pasha's going to find one in the meantime. It's now coming down to a 1v1. Pasha, Virtue, Arch is low. He has himself a kit, a smoke as well, but I'm not sure how helpful the smoke will be in this scenario, and it's going to be Pasha just holding the angle, perfectly positioned, and he's going to find the kill eventually. I think he gave Blue a little bit of a heart attack there with that missed shot.
A little shaky as he missed the second shot.
I saw the look on your face of just, no, not like this.
Leaving room for a reaction, and a bit of a fail there, but thankfully he still manages to execute the frag. So Virtus.Pro get their start again. Second pistol that they've won, but keep in mind they did also lose the second round.
No SMG
previously as well.
No 5 SMGs this time though, so they're taking it a little bit more seriously. I feel that 2 rifles is sort of the norm when coming into the meta at the moment. Maybe 3 on some teams, but we are just going to see the straight up A push. The SMG is going to be leading the way to try and find these kills. No armor actually purchased on that CT side, so they want to get onto their buy as soon as possible. It's just going to be the Deagles, which is very common in the CIS scene actually. I think Flipside do this as well. They don't actually purchase up armor at all. They just go for the pistols and then try and have a better buy in the future rounds. But Phil, I'm going to be looking to try and find another kill, but unfortunately he will not do that. And this is just looking like, well, a pretty simple round, to put it lightly, from Virtus.Pro, and unfortunately this is going to leave worse players with very, very little to play with when it comes to their actual buy rounds.
Pun game needs a bit of work. still very early on in your career, as it would seem.
I don't know. I feel like that was just an easy one to get out of the way to start things off. If we go to train, I have about like 400 different puns that can be made.
So obviously with the 10-5 half happening, that being a pretty polarizing scoreline in regards to who wins the pistol there, and as well as they don't have any, consider we didn't actually see any problems with Virtus.Pro picking up the second round, and now with them more than likely finding the third, this does leave the worst players in a very, I mean, to be completely honest, a very bad position now, being down this far. If they don't win this first gun round, that could be it there, because they're really only going to have 1 or 2 more chances after that to try and strike back. Fix, with a good opening shot though, way in the back of the site, is going to be able to pick up that first frag of the round.
And they have actually got 3 players, 4th rotating in over towards this B side at the moment. So VP, they do have to be careful, although one player is edging off here. So possibility that they may not go for this push as of yet. As said, 4 players, 1 currently in the CT spawn, just waiting to see if Neo goes pushing through and could actually catch him out here. Although, is he actually just AFK? That's what it almost looks like. We're going to see Neo finding 1 player from behind, going to look to try and find that kill. He does tag him down a little bit. Neo low on HP, but nevertheless, it looks like the rotation is now going to come in over towards that A site, and there's absolutely no one there. They've got to try and catch them out in middle. We're going to be seeing the P250 trying to do some work, but nothing coming in as of yet. And Taz, he just destroys the opposition. Goes ham, and it's going to be down to Fix, and he'll get decimated as well.
So Virtus.Pro get the start, 13-5, not even really losing anybody along the way either. Actually going to be surviving with quite a bit of extra cash heading into this first gun round, and with Neo and Taz still having those SMGs, very large chance they're just going to stick with them in this first gun round. There's no reason to waste those, especially when your economy is just starting to build and you still have 7.5 and 8.5. Neo will decide to upgrade his, but Taz is still going to stick with the UMP. On the CT side, however, we do need to see that investment coming in. Simple was able to build up enough of his own bank to go for the op buy here on the first gun round. But this is really going to be it now, because Virtus.Pro, they get themselves to 14. They'll have to win 10 match points in a row, essentially, considering they'd be going on to the eco in the next round. And that is going to be a very, very difficult task to accomplish, just to tie things up and take it into OT on map number 1.
Well, clearly at the moment, Virtus.Pro, they're just playing with full confidence. They haven't really lost any major rounds since the end of the first half. Also, the fact is the other 3 rounds are based off the pistol. So only 2 buy rounds have actually gone the way of worst players at this scenario. We're going to be seeing Taz, as you said, on an SMG at the moment, but it is the UMP, which is actually pretty good at causing quite a bit of havoc if he can get close range. AWP of Simple needs to try and find an entry kill to make that investment worthwhile, unless he can get into some sort of clutch situation as we saw previously. But it does look like, well, unlike Virtus.Pro, middle control has not been something that's come in for worse players, and we're going to see a complete overhaul of this A side. We're going to be seeing Arch trying to find 1, but in the meantime, he's got players surrounding him. That bomb not going to be able to cross over as of yet. The smokes will begin to fade relatively soon, so the 2 players over towards CT may actually be able to make something of this round.
This is a bit dangerous for Virtus.Pro, but they did manage to successfully mind game worst players, considering they forced a little bit of a mini rotation there. Now they've got them all boxed off on the side without finding a single kill. They managed to plant the bomb. That's going to be a good flashbang that comes up, but where's the actual push from Arch? Shut down by Neo, and Snacks gets the double, taking down both Fix along with Simple, and then he grabs the final kill on a fill-in as well. Oh my goodness, absolutely destroying it. Now Virtus.Pro, by winning that gun round, they basically have this map in their hands.
Well, you could say they're getting crushed. There's a lot they need to fix, and well, maybe someone could fill in if there's problems later on.
Getting better. Nice, solid improvement.
But anyway, we are going to be seeing that buy coming in from the T side once more. The CTs are going to have next to nothing left to play with them. Well, they're actually pretty much just saving now for the fight back from 15-5. This is going to have to be an absolutely ridiculous showing from worst players, and to be honest, their name is starting to become their nature at this point. I feel like VP just have this one in the bag.
Unless like Simple like channels his inner liquid, then probably not going to be able to fight it back. But he's on the wrong team for that anyway.
Yeah, it needs to be the other way around, I feel.
So Virtus.Pro, as we could sort of predict here, crushing their way through this round as they move in. There are now only 3 left alive from the CT side. There is a long flank coming back in through T, but all right. Bit of a mistake made there by Taz. Sort of standing out in the open, taking those duels, and there we go. All right. Somehow they're finding these kills.
Finland's back on the board after a long hiatus. But, well, at the moment, this is just damage to an economy that's going to be very difficult to damage. I don't think there's really going to be anything they can do here. And, well, the remaining players, they just stay calm, collected, and just finish off the round. And that is now 6 rounds in a row for Virtus.Pro. 1 more in 10 for them to take this first map. And then we're on to Cash, which is another map that Virtus.Pro in history have been very, very good on. And at the moment, they're not. I wouldn't say they're a particularly bad team on the map. Of course, Simple, he's had his moments on Cash. We've seen it before. Then again, he's also had his moments on Mirage. And so far, well, we saw one nice little clutch, a couple of ult kills coming in that sort of made me jump a little bit. But apart from that, we've seen next to nothing from the majority of the team.
Horse player is going to try to get much more aggressive in this round, but Pasha takes the duel, goes down first, but Bialy does move in and find the trade. Now Crush moving out to take better control of middle, finds that first kill, tries to transfer the spray, but he's going to get mollied out of spot and down to 27 HP now. He's going to have to fall away from this one. Decent amount of control gained of the A-bomb, but the problem is they still have Arch sitting back over here in T. There's a good timing on the peak, though, from Bialy, and that's going to completely stop all the control they would have had. Down to just Crush and fill in. 27 HP on Crush as well, not looking very good. Crush goes down, leaving everything in the hands of the man that only had one kill at the end of the first half. Pop Flash going over, very long range one though, and he unfortunately peeks out a little bit early, so Snax will find that final kill, and it'll be 16-5, the first map going into the control of Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, absolute decimation. There was nothing really to be said there about that map in terms of analysis. It just looked like, well, they managed to take their rounds following the pistol. Then after that, they won 2 buy rounds. That was it for the rest of their game. They just didn't really see anything. The entry kill seemed to go the way of Virtus.Pro nearly every single round. And I think one of the main rounds they won was actually them getting the entry. I think it was Fix pushing into the site, finding 2 headshots. So that was their real problems. It was like, yes, they knew the smokes. Obviously, most people know smokes on Mirage. That's not the problem. It was just counter nades coming in from VP were just so effective. The fragging was just clearly on the side of VP, and in the end,
and as we saw,
they can do.
I think it was like 8 rounds. I think it had that we saw Virtus.Pro going on a bit of a streak on their CT side, and when that was finally broken, I mean, that only lasted like 2 rounds. They finally found like the weak point, but they found it so late into the half that it didn't even make a difference. 10-5. They don't win the pistol in the second half, and really from that point forward, it's just impossible to crawl their way back from the depths.
Well, the thing I always find with also these lower teams is sometimes they're not willing to take a pause, and after sort of 4 or 5 rounds when the economy started to build up, they clearly hadn't found anything yet. Really, that was when I wanted to see just go, okay, guys, let's have a bit of a breather. Let's reset a little bit. Let's get Simple back on that AWP so we can try and find an entry kill. But unfortunately, that just happened way too late. They didn't go for a pause. And yeah, they found 2 rounds, but 2 buy rounds, it's not enough.
Yeah. All right, guys, map number 2 should be coming up here in just a little bit. It's going to be on Cash for those of you who did miss that earlier on. Be sure to stick around. We'll be right back with more of the Starletter I-League Invitational right here on Twitch.
gaming bets. We accept bets on computer games online since 2011. Referral system for regular users and the first deposit bonus. Gaming devices store and the best choice of payment systems. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, Counter-Strike and StarCraft, World of Tanks and League of Legends. EGB.com. You know for sure who's going to win.
Getting tired of playing with the usual skins, but don't have enough money to buy a new one? Get rich fast with CSGoFast.com. CS Go Fast. It's a strong chance of winning in every game. Several rooms with different game modes. Daily, more than 1,000 games, 5,000 players, and 25,000 skins at stake. You don't need much in order to sweep the board.
Angry because you missed a big play? Tired of staying up all night to create highlight videos? Introducing LiveCut.tv. Simply press the capture button and bam! A highlight from the past 60 seconds will be instantly recorded. Get posts from streamers and fans around the world. Achieve legendary status Kappa.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, here to the Starladder Invitational live from the Kiev Olympic Arena. We are going live now with our second map between Virtus.Pro and Worst Players Simple's new team. My name is Blue. Joining me here is Tom.
Yeah, well, Cash. What can we really say about that? We're going to be going into, well, of course, the second map. I actually spoke briefly with obviously the manager of VP, and he was saying the fact that he realized that Worst Players probably picked it because of a couple of days ago where we actually saw G2 destroy VP on that map. I think it was like 16-4, 16-5, something ridiculous, but the caliber of player is just not the same. I feel like to go as far as to say, yeah, okay, G2, a team that are really informed, playing incredibly well, could do exactly the same. Yeah, I'm not so sure. But anyway, we are going to be going in. I think this is the knife round?
Knife round, yeah.
So obviously we can just talk over that. But yeah, both teams, well, talking about Cash just in general, I feel like it has become more of a T-side showcase. But most teams still pick the CT side to start. That just seems to be the common denominator.
Yeah, I mean, generally the CT side start is going to be a little bit easier because some teams can bring a much more varied playbook in terms of what they want to do in the side. North America, it's a little bit different, as most teams just play the default. But the European teams obviously have been able to innovate a little bit more, and we do see things getting a bit more advanced. The executes, every team has their own little bit of flair to it, and I imagine we'll see that here coming into this match. Maybe not for the Worst Players, since things are still fairly new for these guys, and they've been struggling quite a bit, so I don't think they really would have gotten to the point where they sort of have their own strat book when it comes to these individual maps. But for Virtus.Pro, definitely, regardless, though, we're not going to see that from them at the beginning because they're going to be starting off on the CT side.
Yeah, and straight away we can actually see Simple being dropped to P250, so he's going to be sort of the mini raid boss. I wouldn't say that's the Tech 9 armor sort of strategy as of yet. We're going to see some nades onto Villain, someone who really needs to step up in this game because he was completely absent for the first half and pretty much the same on the second half. Well, all of them were. I think it was a 6-0 second half, but we are going to be seeing a little bit of aggression coming out actually towards middle for the CT side, but in the meantime, straight away, the A presence is coming in. It looks like they could get quite an easy push here, although Bialy is holding the cross.
Virtus.Pro just going to play the retake. Obviously, most teams are going to go for A right at the beginning of the pistol round, so instead of just risking it in the duels early on, they're going to sit back and try to get some better angles to start off with, and we can already see that jumping in at Snacks. Now, interesting though is it's Simple, and he has his own flank opened up for this flank that's been boosted over, and he's going to be able to push in, shuts this down nicely. There we go, keeping things alive, and now the rest of the CTs, they're going to try to push their way back into this site, moving in. Pasha finds a first kill, Neo finds a second pickup, Taz finding a third, but Fix does respond with 2 of his own. Now down to a 2-on-2, but heavy damage done to both of the remaining Ts at this point. Villain down to 10 and Fix at 22, just trying to hold Villain inside of the site, and Taz leaping sweeping back over into the quad, shuts down one of them. We do see Philin responding with one of his own pickups, so now down to the one-on-one. Taz, though, going inside of A main, finds that final kill, but he's out of time. He's not going to be able to defuse the bomb. No kit in hand. And the worst players, they managed to hold that off for long enough to be able to pick up the pistol.
Well, mentioning the fact that you said, well, clearly it looked like they were going for some sort of retake strategy onto the A site. They didn't purchase a kit at all. I wonder if that was some sort of a misbuy coming in, because it just seemed questionable to go for such a loose hold of the A site and then not purchase a kit at all. So that when that retake did eventually come in, it didn't matter, because the T's had already managed to win. And straight off the bat, we can see 5 rifles coming in for the T side. So they are not mucking about at all. Not going to be trying to farm any cash, but that leaves a huge amount of risk, and we can already see the force coming in for the CT side.
And Pasha going to push himself up with a shotgun, hiding behind the boxes to catch any lurkers back over by the long halls that want to investigate the B-bomb site. Not going to be finding anybody, but we also saw Snacks getting himself into an early position inside of A main here, watching to see if he can catch Arch or anyone else that may move inside of this area. Not catching them as of yet, so now being a little bit more cautious of them being spotted out. Just going to smoke off that little shed and fall back further onto the site to be ready for a hit.
I think he actually bought a UMP for Taz as well, so they have actually pretty much spread the cash over. He's got a lot of that money onto his shoulders. I know he did get a couple of kills, but I don't think he had enough to buy that altogether, so it does look like he has been dropped. There are only 2 players with armor at the moment, and it just looks like at the moment the T's are just feeling out the match, taking presence across the middle, using their nades, and Fix is going to find that initial entry kill. They look like, well, the bomb's still down, but it does look like an A split is slowly building up together, but they can go wherever they want at this stage.
Also, Virtus.Pro really not having a very good idea as to where this hit's going to be coming from. Taz catching himself a duel outside of Z, but losing to Simple since he's got that rifle at long range. An easy duel for him to take and win. And with that said, now the worst players, they basically have their pick of the litter. 3 players left alive for Virtus.Pro, and they're extremely spread out. Neo's going to be stuck outside of CT main. We still have Pasha pushed up to the sunroom, and Snacks back over here inside of MPK spot, or actually, no, apologies, inside of the Squeaky room. And to try to surprise, doesn't end up working out very well, and that just leaves Pasha very disconnected from everything else going on in the map right now.
Well, he was just sort of praying that the B hit was going to come in, but they actually just took over middle, split onto A. The strategy seemed to be built up just very slowly over time, but it seemed clear very early on that they were actually looking towards that A site. But the real problem for me was they seemed to invest so much into Taz, and he ended up just taking a duel that was very, very difficult for him to actually win. As you mentioned, like the rifle in that situation, it was relatively long range, should win every time, and it did. And, well, unfortunately, that means that nothing really came in this round. Pasha just going to try and either, well, get an exit frag or save that mag into the next round, but they're going to have next to nothing. And, well, worst players, they're getting off to a nice start.
So with the worst players off to the good edge there, they've managed to successfully make their way through the second round, and with basically no losses coming into it either. They're not losing a single player, so all 5 of those rifles make it through. And assuming we don't see any of them get dropped in the next round either, since that'll be the full save round coming up from Virtus.Pro, that's going to be a huge economical boost that they get right at the beginning of the match there. They don't have to invest into any of those rifles on the first gun round. They save all of them. Maybe we can expect like 1 or 2 of them to get dropped here on this round, but more than likely they should be safe to keep most of them at arms.
Yeah, cash money, that's all we can really say at this point. We are going to see a little bit of armor brought up onto Pasha, so he is going to try and make something of this round. If he gets a kill, of course, he's back onto level pegging with everyone else on his team. But wonder if they will actually just, well, purchase up the basic rifles like they did previously, or go for something a little bit more in a further round. But it is going to be aggression coming out at the moment. It looks like they're about to boost a couple of players into middle, try and find a little bit of early peaks. In fact, I think 4 players currently over towards the vents at the moment. Snacks going to be the Lone Ranger, just looking around to try and find out information towards middle and towards A, but I don't really think he's going to find anything, and they're just clearing angles with these Molotovs, making things nice and easy for them going into this round. And I feel like, well, the stack, it hasn't really paid off, and they were just basing themselves around that mag. So, yeah, should be another easy round. Possibly want to keep that into the next round. I'm not really sure. Really, a frag would be much more beneficial.
It's always the risk. I think the guys with the USPs will probably just line up for exits now that they've got full control. They're actually delaying the plan a little bit there, but finally goes onto the ground. A couple of guys looking like they have themselves out over there towards Highway, but not going to be going so well. Simple grabs the 1-tap there onto Snacks from long range, taking him down. Looking for more. Biala does get a good angle, but he's going to be mollied outside of his safe spot, and he cannot connect anything else. So with him going down, that's basically killed it all. Neo looking for those exits once again back over here by the truck angle, maybe able to catch something, but in terms of Pasha, he wants to stay safe and keep that gun in play for the first gun round, as he could still be very useful inside of an area like Checkers, where things are going to be very close up.
Well, especially on someone like Pasha, he's been sort of a talisman of the Mag 7, always used to play it on Cobblestone towards the plat area, very up close. So I feel like for most people, saving this wouldn't be the best idea. For Pasha, I don't think it's the worst in the world. However, if he drops down here, he could be dead very quickly for the time runs out. and you could just see from Simple's reaction. But they do actually keep, I think they kept all 5 rifles again. So they have made that money. They didn't need the SMGs to do it. So again, 5 players surviving. We saw actually 3 surviving from the CT side, which didn't really benefit them at all because 2 of them had nothing. But anyway, we're going to be coming in with the buy. It will be the mag. Onto Pasha, he's got himself the kit as well. Quite a lot of nades, but the remaining players, they are lacking quite heavily in utility at the moment. No real nades in play, just a few flashes, and it does look like the quick B hit is about to be coming in. Pasha, the player with all the nades, going to be staying up close with Tadzid and then trying to hold off this push. But here goes Philin, going to find that entry kill. Pasha is going to be down to him. He finds 1, he finds 2, he finds the 3rd. Well, Neo finds the 3rd. He's looking for more. That mag has already done enough damage. He will get taken down, but Snacks finds another in the meantime. An absolutely perfect play from Pasha. Holds off the play just long enough, and now it's down to the man himself. Then, well, this is basically Simple squad, and we'll see whether or not he can carry it through this 4th round.
He's very quickly running out of time, though, as Biali's coming in on that flank back over from middle. So smokes off the main. He needs to start making progress immediately, though, despite the spray coming through from Neo. He's actually going to go directly into the smoke, looking to take on Neo now that he's spotted them there. Finds that first kill, but that is a nice response coming out from Snacks.
That was a Snacks level play. You don't do that to Snacks. He knows it's coming. He took him down in the end, and well, the first buy round, we saw this previously. The buy rounds did not go the way of worst players, and the first one has already gone the way of Virtus.Pro. However, we now see an AWP coming in on to both sides. Pasha picking up one, obviously making a nice bit of money with that mag, and of course, Simple picking up the other on the opposing side.
And with the worst players now lining up for their hit, it's going to be Simple going on the early boost, looking for the shot, but all he gets is some lead to the face along with that Molotov. Down at 46 HP now because of that decision. And as well, the rest of his team not going to be able to find anything else early on to compensate for that one. So a good opening gambit from Virtus.Pro, or apologies, a bad opening gambit from Simple does not pay off whatsoever. And now he's going to be extremely low, and they've also got Taz pushed up extremely aggressively back to the bottom of mid to watch out and make sure that this doesn't get repeated by anyone else on the team.
Well, this is sort of a similar situation as we saw into Mirage. Clearly, Virtus.Pro want to take over middle as much as possible. They currently have 2 players, 1 up close, 1 holding further back. That is Snacks. Obviously, does leave the A side a little bit open, but the quick rotation from middle does allow for this to be possible. But it does look like the build-up is going to be going towards this A side once more. We're going to be seeing the forklift player having an awful lot to do, but it will be Biali getting smoked out. Going to be trying to rotate away. Still a minute left on the clock, and Snacks is going to find the entry kill. Or not the entry kill, the initial kill onto this round. We're going to be seeing the push coming in from Arch now. He needs to try and trade one back. Biali, the timing not quite going to pay off, and Biali going to push through and find a second. This is nice work coming out from Virtus.Pro, looking for a 3rd, and there we go. Another one for Biali. Snacks does get traded, but this just looks like it's falling apart. But Philin, the man who was very absent in the last game, does manage to find himself a kill, and now it is a 3 versus 2. The retake going to be coming in for Virtus.Pro. They do have a couple of kits in play, a few nades left, only flashbangs, but Neo's position could be absolutely crucial. He finds one, and he's looking for Crush. This should be a nice, easy cleanup, and he does just that.
Neo with a nice flank stops any chance of the 2v3 clutch coming out from worst players there, and it will be a 2-round streak coming out from these guys. Many more to be gained. Now they get the double op set up for free here too, which like in the past couple of weeks, mainly for Luminosity, but we've seen this like across the board for a lot of other teams too, become sort of a theme now. We're seeing more and more of these on the CT sides, and we're seeing just how dominant it can be if you can keep it going consistently. So with that in play now, this is going to get very dangerous for the worst players, especially with them. I'll mention that in a sec. Especially with them going for the full AK buyout here, they're just going to be forcing up. Still not a bad decision when you consider the utility, but the more important thing is the fact that Neo has gone for the COD gun.
Yeah, I feel like, well, Matt will be very happy that that has come out, being from the Call of Duty scene, but let's see what he can actually make of this one. I'm not too sure of the decision, but I suppose the spray's not bad. Obviously, the accuracy scoped in. It's not a particularly bad weapon. It's just not one that is seen too often within the scene, especially when the AKs can just tear your head off in one bullet. But let's see what's going to happen here. It's going to be the push coming in onto the site. The quad player going to get taken down. It will be a trade, but nevertheless, this leaves the site pretty much open for the T-Senal plant. And again, it's going to be a retake scenario coming in for Virtus.Pro.
Not a whole lot of defenses on the site, so this could still be very calculated from Virtus.Pro, but they need to get themselves in position for the retake ASAP. And the problem is that Neo, he's taking his time with that gun, moving himself around. He wants to make sure he can impact with it since it's so expensive. In all honesty, this is more of like a tilt gun than anything. If you can find a kill with it, it's probably going to piss off the T's pretty heftily. But he's been smoked off. They know there's someone going to try to work their way in on the flank. This is going to be very tough for the CTs to find a way back in, and there's already Simple picking up the first kill. Taz moving his way in, looking for a pickup. Backdoor by Forklift. Nicely done. And there's the flank coming in from Neo now. Picks up the kill, and with Pasha finding another kill, they are running out of time there, but there's Fix picking up the other 2 kills. They're out of time now. Neo, he's not even going to attempt this. Sitting back, he tries to take the duel. He succeeds in it, but now he's got to run for his life. 59 HP, should be safe. But the worst players, again, via timing, do manage to hold themselves off.
Fix completely saved them there. It looked like, again, the real problem there was they had 1 Molotov on Pasha, and that was about it for nades, a couple of flashbangs. So the retake, once that Molotov was gone, they had to just go for Angels, and we saw, well, 3 quick kills come in for them through the flank. We saw Pasha find 1 and Taz, or it almost looked like he got a double spray there, but it didn't come out. And now, well, both teams really skimping with the buy. Of course, the CT side have come out much worse for wear, but the T's, they're not in a great position themselves. So if Neo can do some initial damage, he is in a decent position here. All players are blind. He's just going to scope up around the corner. He finds 1 and almost finds the second, but the COD gun does not pay off in this scenario.
Only 1 kill being picked up there, and with the rest of his teammates down the dumps as far as their own buys are concerned, that was a really only big gun they had to work with here this time around. Now, Snacks has managed to push his way through the squeaky halls, and he's lined up with a flank. So if we see worse players shifting themselves over to an A hit, he could still be pretty impactful if nobody's checking for that. But it seems to be the case right now that most of the worst players are going to look for mid connection, and then they can push their way back over there through highway. Still going in for A, so Snacks could still be very useful, but with just a USP, and especially with the guys on worst players being given plenty of time to adjust for him, it's going to be very, very tough for now Virtus.Pro to bounce this round back, and more than likely, it'll end up being a 5th for the T's.
Well, yeah, they've got so much time to play with at this point. They can just sort of make their way slowly over towards one of the sites. Of course, they've got to make sure they check all the angles. Snacks' position isn't bad, but he's got to hit an instant like double dink with the USP, which isn't ideal. It is possible for someone of his caliber, but whether or not he'll be able to do it is yet to be seen, and we're going to be waiting for this push, and already we see the middle aggression coming out. They're just slowly taking apart these sites. However, the time is starting to slowly tick. If they could drop the bomb, the closer it gets to the site. However, they have now decided towards B. Taz has managed to get himself a rifle, but instantly Crush ends his life, and now they should just swarm onto the site. Pasha has actually managed to retrieve the AUG, and maybe able to keep that into the next round. I'm not sure how much they will actually want to do that, whether it was a misbuy or whether Neo actually did favor the Orc, but yeah, at the moment I'm not sure there's a huge amount they can do. Bialy with the Deeg, Snacks with nothing, so he may as well just run like a lamb to the slaughter. But again, it's going to be a 5th round now for worse players.
Snacks looking for something to pick up. Also will try to place himself in a good position to find at least 1 more frag here, but that was giving himself away, not catching anything else. And worse players have this round completely under their control. It will be a 5th round for these guys.
Pasha's position could actually work out here with that scope. If he could just find 1. Of course, going for the headshot's actually going to end up falling as well. Nice shot from Fix. It was a nice effort, but no AUG going to be saved. I'm not sure how much they're going to mourn that loss, but the Virtus.Pro, well, I don't know. Are they going to be coming in with a buy? Yeah, well, they have enough, and they are a team that would normally go for something like this. I wouldn't be too surprised, especially actually Snacks managing to retrieve that Galil right at the end of the round, so they are going to go for it. It's going to be a bit of a lackluster buy. The nades, again, going to be lacking just a little bit, but it is slightly better than what they had previously. But again, the T's, if they win this round, they're going to be crushing that CT economy once more, and also they have now got full utility on the board.
It's going to be quite risky, though, when you consider just how low they're going to be after this. Snacks the only player that will have money, and that's simply because he carries over this Galil from the previous round. They're buying out entirely here, and that could give worse players a very big edge on the T side. They're starting to build up their own economy once again here as well, but the same thing as we were talking about before, just going to start things off with the default. No reason to spread their wings too early here and try to go for an entry or two. Just hanging back. As far as the defenses are concerned on the A site, they do the run boost to put Bialy up on top of the Shroud spot. And Taz hiding a little bit further back on the site itself, but beyond this, things are pretty default as far as Virtus.Pro's own split.
Yeah, I feel like the T's, again, they're just waiting for any sort of aggression. I think they realize that the CT buy probably isn't going to be quite up to the standard they'd like it to be, and with the nades and such, it's not going to be that easy to slow down a push. We are going to see, though, an instant kill coming out from Neo, and now he has no real reason to peek, just wants to take that initial kill. Archer's position isn't a bad one. He may be able to catch someone out, especially over towards middle, and actually it's going to be simple finding the second kill of this round and trade it back to a 4 versus 4.
Still have Arch sitting behind the white box here too, but now that he's lost his teammate, he's going to be a little bit more cautious about the way he approaches this one. Waiting for the A main squad to get themselves in position here too, and you also still have Fix to worry about, but they start to push their way back over here out towards the highway area, and Bialy does find his first kill here. Finds two, actually, up on top of the shot spawn, and that's the bomb going down. Looking for the third. He's going to be able to find it. Nicely played. Swapping over to the Deagle to look for the fourth, and he almost grabs it down to 31 HP. It'll be Snacks that moves in. Survives that encounter with 9 of his own HP, but he closes things out in the round and strikes back for Virtus.Pro.
Well, the real problem there is that the main weakness of that position is coming from Highway, and they instantly smoked it off just to make sure there was no way that Bialy was getting shut down from that position, and unfortunately that meant that he managed to get 2 kills and a third when that player tried to push through the smoke. So Bialy shutting down that round, and actually, well, the T's, their economy hadn't built up that much. They're actually going to be in a real problematic situation here. A Tech 9, not the worst weapon in the world, but it's not going to be ideal at long range, and the UMP onto Fillon, again, he seems to be the one not doing too great so far, definitely not doing as bad as he was on Mirage, but here we go. Bialy, lot to do. He's going to find 1, 2, looking for the third. Going to be going with the pistol. He does just that, and this is getting completely shut down. The rotation going to come in. Snack's going to find one as well, and it's going to be all down to Simple in a 1 versus 5. And, well, he may be an amazing player, but I think this should be impossible for him. He's found himself 1, and that's all he's going to find.
Snacks shutting it down pretty quickly after that, so the worst players, although they did get themselves off to a good start here, they're now going to have to give a little bit more respect to the side of Virtus.Pro. With their cash flow running out here, down to about 2K. Only going to be upgrading some pistols at the most. And even that might be a bit of a stretch here now, as they do need to save up for the next round in Virtus.Pro. Right back onto the buy. We have another AUG coming in.
Yeah, it is intentional. There's no way he misbought that twice, so clearly deciding that he wants to play with a different scope weapon this time. It's not bad from the back of sight. I feel like if they do push into it, especially with these pistols, he should be able to find these kills very, very easily. However, I don't know if I particularly would favor the weapon, but each to their own. If it works, it works. And, well, so far they are in a 4-5 situation. Worst players starting off well, but again, they've started to slow down a little bit, and their economy has been wrecked. However, Simple will find himself a kill onto Snacks, so that is at least 1 for this round. And 3 players currently over towards B does leave Bialy very alone, although we've seen him do very well in this situation so far this game. Simple looking for a second one to try and open up the round a little bit more.
Fill in as well, hoping he can catch somebody getting a little bit over-aggressive there in the back B halls, but it definitely will not be the case. Pasha, the farthest he's going to move up here, is going to be to the boxes without smoke assistance. And that nade going over, I think it bounced up for whatever reason. I don't know how that happened, but apparently it did.
Rip nade.
Gravity works weird in this map. But Pasha's still in a good spot. That smoke that was not allowing him to see Arch. He should have caught that shot from Simple, but now he's got to be careful. Thankfully, though, one of them is going to walk directly into his line of fire there. That's Arch going down, looking for some more here, too, as the pop flash goes out. It doesn't connect, but he's still fragging, and now he gets the support from Taz back in Checkers, too. They brought it all down to Simple once again, and he'll be eliminated by Neo. They're coming out with the scope gun.
Well, they did get a little bit unlucky there, I have to admit. Worst players pushing into a position where there were actually 3 players around, although it didn't actually need them. It was just Pasha just flashing himself back in. As you said, the flash didn't even work. He was still finding the frags. Of course, it was just pistols. They needed Simple to connect with that dig. It didn't happen, and now they're going to be coming back in with their buy. But Virtus.Pro, again, they seem to be starting to get themselves together, taking a little bit of time to get into the map. And if they can start running away with the CT side, I feel like the T side will be very, very, very difficult, well, for worse players when they switch over.
So Neo inside of the vents once again. Waiting to see if he can catch a hit coming in from middle, but this is definitely not going to be the case in this round. It's extremely direct from the worst players. All 5 guys pushing their way out through the back of the B halls right now. Neo ready to respond on his own. They do also still have the lurk coming in from Fix back over by Checkers, but beyond this, it's going to be a full hit. Nicely done by Fillon. Almost right in there with the entry onto Neo. Pasha does respond on his own, but they're going to be able to move in here and take control of the site. Taz is going to go down. Pasha still back in Checkers, though, responding with his own pickups, but there comes Arch just rolling his way right through, even spraying through the box. Finds the response kill on a Pasha, leaving it just on Snacks and Bialy.
Well, and also here it gets down to the point where, is this worth the retake? They're going to be going for it, of course. Now back to a 2 versus 2. We're going to be seeing Snacks finding another one, actually, and just cleans things up with the AWP. Great work from him, and I have to question sort of the positions there coming out. There was no real crossfire. It's just made things very, very easy for the CT side. They just managed to find individual duels. The only thing I do have to really question in the round was, why would you play an AUG that close? That just seems really, really weird. I suppose it does have a similar spray to the AK going in, trying to find a couple of headshots, but just playing close with a weapon that has a scope, I don't know. It just seems a little bit odd to me, but nevertheless, they win the round. They pull off the retake, and the buy has got a little bit worse now for worse players with just 4 smokes to play with.
I mean, for worse players, it just didn't really seem like they really had enough time to line up their post-plant positions there, so unfortunately, They're immediately put back onto the hot seat as Virtus.Pro go for their retake immediately after they get that bomb on the floor. So they just take cover at the nearest spot that's convenient for them, and that leaves them out in the open there, susceptible to those nice op shots coming out from one of the last players which alive on Virtus.Pro there. But this time, it's going to be nice from the side of worst players as both Simple and Fix find those 2 entries inside of A main. Should now prompt the take coming in at any moment, leaving basically just Taz to hold this back off.
Yeah, and the CT economy is not good in this scenario, and Simple, lovely shot to find another entry into the site. So this really is unfortunate now. Neo going to be the only one really remaining. He does have the presence of Pasha over towards the car, but it just looks like the T's have just slowed things right down. They've got so many entries here. It's only going to be mistakes that can cost them the round, but there we go. The bomb's going to get dropped. Neo finds another through the smoke, but it'll get traded nonetheless. And Pasha, well, the question is here, does he actually go for the save? Because I don't think their economy is going to be in a particularly decent scenario. They've got a couple of players who will be able to buy, possibly able to drop 1 gun, but dropping a couple, I'm not sure if it's really worth the risk, especially after they did just win.
He's not being given anything. He's got a decent amount of utility to try and find his way back into the site, but the problem is ultimately going to be without any intel or anything, because a lot of his teammates were killed really far back on the site at really long range, so they didn't really get a good grasp on post plants or anything by the time these guys got in. So you can definitely see Pasha holding himself back, will not be going for this retake, just trying to see if he can grab a player retreating instead of A main. The timing, however, is not working out in his favor. Missed that guy, missed the second player. So will not be able to gain anything here. He will save the op, as it does not look like worse players are going hunting him down whatsoever. But now that'll keep things close still at 6-6.
The only thing I am a little bit worried at the moment for worst players is their CT side on Mirage. That they didn't even get going. Like, they lost 6 rounds straight. There was nothing there. So if their CT side of this map, which is, well, less CT sided, is anything like the previous map, then I feel like even if Virtus.Pro get, well, just the 6 rounds they already have, it could be enough for them to just close this one out. But we will have to wait and see. Of course, this is the map pick of worst players, so there may be a little bit more there. They may have practiced this one slightly more than the other, but Snacks is going to be going aggressive up against those AKs. The double up setup did come in. I said Pasha saving that does allow for them to go for this sort of setup, and as we mentioned, Pasha, he finds that initial kill into the round.
It's going to be him pushing himself out to the backbeat halls where he finds that pickup against Philin. Was the lurker closer to the B-bomb site? It did look like for a moment that worst players wanted to try and move themselves further towards that area to try and punish it, but decided against it. And now we're lined up inside of Squeaky and A-main to just go for a direct hit here. The guys from Virtus.Pro, they are ready for it though, but the flop flashes initially are going to be great. Snacks stuck in the corner, not able to do anything. Same story for Bialy. He's taken out of the picture. Taz is boosted back up on top, but he too cannot pick up anything whatsoever. Fix decks him down from the bottom. And now leaves only Pasha and Neo from back on the B-bomb side alive to try and do something about this. Neo, he's got a good flank going, but he's got to check behind that pillar as there's a player waiting for him right there. No. And it's going to be Simple that takes him down. Now again, Pasha, the last one alive in a 1v4. No way in hell he's pulling this off. Time to run.
This is going to be the reset as well. This is going to be the opportunity actually for worst players to take this 9-6, and really unlucky there actually from Neo, just spraying straight into the bar and doesn't actually manage to connect those shots. So that now leaves just Pasha alone. This really, I think, well, according to the economy, I think all they'll have is this AWP going into the next round. They are only going to be getting 1900 as the loss bonus, so a great opportunity now for worst players to actually get that sort of 9-6 scoreline that we do tend to see more often now on a map sort of cash. But, well, clearly Mirage was a much stronger map for VP.
So worst players are going to be able to hold their own here. And Pasha specifically is able to keep that up in the picture. The problem being, however, is that that op is really not going to be all too effective when it's just the op being in play. Upgrade coming in. No, actually, they're just going to buy out here again. So the Eagle coming on to Neo, the 5-7 with a little bit of utility behind both Bialy and Taz, and Pasha had a little bit more than some of his teammates, so he's able to go for the shotgun full buy, but
yeah, he drops that AWP to Snacks and then goes for the shotgun himself. So he did make a great impact in the previous rounds and made himself a nice amount of cash when he was using that weapon, but really, he's been the one finding the entries with the AWP, so it is a little bit interesting that he's going to be the one dropping it down. However, a nice pop flash comes in. Arch gets dominated there, and they manage to find themselves an AK, so this buy has just slightly improved at least. However, the remaining Ts, they will realize now that this isn't a full buy. They can sort of slow things down, try and just work the picks, which should be something that they should be much better at realistically with these AKs. And, well, let's see if Pasha can pull something off again with this Mag 7.
This is going to be a big risk being taken here, too, just by Virtus.Pro, in that now they're allowing Virtus.Pro to attempt to take a very big lead. Another good shot coming out from Simple. He's been finding some pretty good connections here, both on the clutch situations and as far as the entries are concerned. Fix, too, another very crucial player in this matchup. Moves in, catches Taz back over closer to middle here, leaving Only 3 up and running here for Virtus.Pro. One of them, though, close encounter is going to be Bialy, but he too fails in his initial 1v1. Maybe get just on Neo and Snacks with the op is still stuck on the B-bomb site, so he will not be able to really help with this A hit that's going to be coming in just a moment.
Well, yeah, the real problem is here as well is they've just forced into this, so they're just going to have about 2,400 in the bank going into the next round. And again, it may just be down to Snacks to try and save this, but they sort of, it's going to be the final round, and their buy is going to be absolutely horrific by the sort of, well, the guess of things. But I'm not sure I really agree with that force. I think forcing around the AWP is possible, but really that AWP needed to do something. Like we saw the flashbang come in, find that initial kill with a 5-7, but the AWP just sort of anchored the site. They just tried to sit there. They tried to do a sort of 1-4 positioning, and unfortunately, like in the end, the T's just played a little bit slow, waited for the further aggression to come out from those pistols, and just slowly shut down the round.
Now Snacks going to try to hold his own up close against Fix here. Finds another connection, but he's being chased from the back. He's going to have to check his flank in a moment. Going up against Crush. Smoke comes out. He's going to hide inside of that. I think, well, they don't actually realize he's sitting there in that corner. So
well, that's where Snacks lives. He lives in the shadows, so I felt like he was always going to be safe in this scenario. But, well, he does manage to do a little bit of damage. It will actually, well, no, actually, they're going to be absolutely fine with the buy, so it doesn't really cost anything. And unfortunately, it now means the buy is, if anything, about the same as last time, to be honest. They've got that mag. They've got some pistols, a few SMGs. If they can find an initial entry kill, there's something possible here. But I think the T side should know, actually, that there really isn't going to be much coming into this round. They're going to go for the running boost again, and they're going to pull it off once more. And it's just going to be an SMG up here this time. And the thing is, with that spot, it's normally a bit of a one-trick pony. You sort of have to think, this round, instantly, they'll probably just check straight up. And with the AKs, 1 bullet to the head, he's out of the round, and that spot's completely wasted.
So to start this one off, the worst players hiding back for the most part, but Neo gets a nice peek moving inside of the mid garage there, takes down Crush. Now trying to fall back inside of the vents, will succeed in doing so. The worst player's not too keen on moving back out to try and find that trade, as they don't have to worry about it just as of yet. But at the same time, Snacks catches another frag against Arch. So things are not starting off very well because of this passive play from the worst players. Finally, it's come back to bite them. As soon as they catch them here, Virtus.Pro are doing a great job at sort of taking advantage of that and shutting down these guys, which are staying in pretty stable positions.
Well, it looks like they are trying to set up also some positions now where they can just sort of refrag. They don't need to always get the entry kills anymore, and they've got these SMGs. It's still not the ideal position because obviously the AKs are still on the opposing side. Simple actually switching out his AWP, but this time Pasher is going to peek out. There was no opportunity for a trade there from Neo, and of course, long range, I think he only had a pistol, so there really wasn't much he could do in that scenario, and straight away we see the frags going back in the way of the T side. That nade could actually do a nice amount of damage. Is going to drop it a little bit down, but Fix still in a decent position. However, if he peeks here, Snacks could entry into this site. And of course, in a 3 versus 3, things could be relatively difficult, but in a 3 versus 2, it'd be much more probable for the CT side. Snacks going to be peeking out. He will find one. He found himself an AK, and here we go. Bialy going to find another, and now it's going to be an AK and an AWP versus Fix, someone who has been doing relatively well so far. He's going to go for one, but not going to find it. Perfect tray frag position from Snacks, and he finds the final kill to make it 8-7.
10-second defuse, but obviously we will still have plenty of time left on the clock for Snacks to grab it, so you are right. 7-8 is going to be the half, but in the favor of the worst players, brawling pretty nicely here, and with Virtus.Pro taking a lot of risks on their economy, unfortunately, bringing them into a couple free rounds with the guys on the worst players here with all these force buys and whatnot that we saw coming out throughout their CT side. So managed to destabilize things quite nicely. The A hits coming in were very strong, and this combined with the power of Simple and Fix led to a much more successful half here on the T side for the worst players that we saw back over in Mirage.
Well, I think there was still a couple of rounds on Mirage where he was finding entry kills, but it was just not frequent enough, and it was way too late. It was just right near the end, and it was like, okay, well, he's done it now, but we've still lost 10-5, and then the dominating T half came in. And that's the thing I'm sort of worried about here, because obviously, as a relatively new team, sometimes your CT setups are just not going to be there. You may not have players playing in their favorite positions. You may not have all the right strategies or the team play even just to sort of pull things off. So obviously, this is their map pick. You hope that they have practiced it at least a bit, but this is going to be an 8-7. And, well, I feel like surely Virtus.Pro is just going to pull this through on the T side.
I feel like the other issue here, too, is, I mean, you look at the rest of the team from the side of worst players, and it's like a really top-heavy performance. 15 and 16 frags coming out respectively for Fix and Simple, and then the rest of the guys are, next guy down is at like 7, and then it's 4 for the other two. So the problem with that ultimately is that, like, especially if you put them both on the same site, as soon as those two players are gone, the overall effectiveness of your team and their ability to like retake sites and whatnot goes down like tenfold.
Well, we saw that on the B side in the pistol round actually, when Philem was just sort of waiting there, and they just found him instantly, took him down, and that was pretty much the round already going to VP. So if they do that again, if they work out the position of those players, like of course, the other thing as well is as an entry fragger, Fix seems to be very good. I'm not sure how good he's actually in the passive positions. Like we saw him in clutch situations, and he just got traded out in most of the positions there. So whether or not he'll actually work well on the CT side, I'm not so sure. But we will be going into the next round. We're going to see Arch actually picking up a Molotov, so possibly going for some sort of retake scenario again with Philon on the kit. And it is going to be just Bialy with a little bit of utility and a P250 to start things off.
I think as Virtus.Pro, early mid control is going to be the name of the game, but there is someone here to contest it from the side of Worst players, and we have Crush here. He's got a little bit of a smoke to peek through. Spots a player getting aggressive against him, but 58 HP, and there's a lot of presence coming in for Virtus.Pro back close to Z, so he does not want to stick around to contest that. Falling back way inside of the CT spawn courtyard, but they're still going to be pushing through. They want to try to cause a divide here so that they can push the bomb in through the vents.
Ooh.
There's a nice pop out from Crush. Fix finding another one, then Crush also repeaks, takes down Taz. The only kill that we saw Virtus.Pro picking up there was Taz taking down Arch, so it leaves it all in the hands of Snacks. Now that Simple's found another pickup, and Snacks, such odds against him now. Simple's going to find the final frag, and the pistol round goes into the control of the CT's Worst players. Will keep their lead here at the beginning of the second half.
That was a huge risk running through Z. The main reason you don't normally do that is because literally the players could just swarm back to where they were before and just catch you in a crossfire. And obviously you can go out sort of like the Virtus.Pro style of guns blazing, just shooting in all directions. Like, oh, if you're trapped in a corner, that means you can shoot everywhere. It didn't work out. They got crushed, to use the pun. And unfortunately, that does mean they're now going to be back to pistols in this round, up against 3 rifles actually. Well, 4 if you include the scout. And there is that scout to find the initial kill in the round.
Did he just get that through the box? Or was that a boost?
It might have been a boost because it didn't come up that it was through something, although sometimes that does happen where it's seemingly through something and then it's not.
Yeah, because I didn't see the boost. I'll see it when we see the kill feed again in a second if it updates us, but that almost looked like it was through the box for a second and I just missed it. Anyway, Arch finding another pickup there against Snacks. We will start to see the Worst players converging over to that A-bomb site to try and defend things here. Fix finding another good pickup. A little bit of a muscle reaction there too. Thinking he spots the player back down over towards Highway, but then he's going to drop the bomb against Neo, leaving just Taz alive here. Philon's going to jump out though and find the final kill. Easy cleanup coming in for the guys on the Worst players.
And this is where I, actually start to worry a little bit for VP, because something they do seem to do is not wait for their full buys all of the time and just go for the forces. So I'm hoping they will calm things down a little bit here and just realize, okay, we are the better team in this scenario. We should be dominating. Obviously, you look at any of the odds for this game, they're absolutely ridiculously in favor of Virtus.Pro, and then they can just sort of grind their way back. Something that in history they've been very, very good at. As of recently, maybe not so much, but we'll see. Obviously, this time they are just going to go for a deagle onto Bialy. I think he got a couple of kills along the way, so not going to be much in this round. Just going to be a straight up rush and no nades at all. So I feel like this is going to be very, very difficult and possibly just going to run somewhere and try and take a couple of frags.
So there we go. Nice reaction from Arch there as he catches Snacks getting aggressive back over towards middle, taking him down nicely. And we see Crush also killing the lurker closer to the B-bomb site. Neo gets eliminated. And the final 3, they had to move back to retrieve the bomb, but now they need to move back just to rethink their strat here, because 3 on 5 with virtually 0 damage done to anybody on the set of Worst players is going to be very hard to make any sort of impact at all, let alone get control of a bomb site. They're favoring the vent hit now and making the decision very quickly too. So still might be able to take advantage of this since it will be a 3-on-2 take attempt, but Pistol's being downgraded. Nice shot coming up from Bialy though. 1 digs on the Crush, and now they only have the site player, but they need to take quick control because those rotations are going to be moving in quickly. Philon able to hold against 1, looking for the second pickup. Flicks away a little bit too quickly, but then uses his pistol. Bialy's going to be able to respond on his own. He finds another one. Responding in his CT main, has this in a 1v2. He's definitely not going to be able to plant the bomb safely, but able to try and take down the player that's going for the drop. Not going to finish him off, and unfortunately leaves himself out in the open for too long. So Arch is going to be able to finish things off finally there after the chaos ends. It'll need 11th round for the Worst players.
700 well spent there for Bialy. Like, taking down 3 players, doing a nice amount of damage, of course, keeping that CT economy honest. And actually, those 3 kills just in general, they've brought the economy actually quite low now. So this is a great opportunity now for Virtus.Pro. They're coming in with their full buy. Nice amount of nades. Of course, Bialy, he's pretty much paid for that weapon very, very easily. So here we go. We're going to be seeing the first buy round, or the proper buy round, coming in for VP and see whether or not they can actually make anything of this round.
Taking it slow, though, from the side of Virtus.Pro, since they are working at a disadvantage. Things not proving so easily as they would have hoped now coming onto this map, but heavy boost play now coming in for Taz. Along with another teammate there as they move themselves over towards it. There's a lot of defense focus back over here too. The vent speed coming out from Arch. He's going to find the first kill, finds a second one. Crush peeking out from the white box, and it's a disaster as they all just get destroyed. Neo's the last one alive inside of A main, but what hope can he have? Lost bomb control and still sitting back over by Boost, and there's still 5 players alive from the CT end.
I just have to mention the fact that there is a very, very simple Molotov that you can throw into the vents just to force a player out. And they did have the nades to do it. That wasn't something that was really a problem for them. So if you're taking mid control, just throw that Molotov in there and force him out of position, because that literally Arch alone there found 3 kills from the vent, then pushed in and found the 4th. If they move him out, there's only 1 player there. Much easier mid-take. Huge risk that could have been averted by 1 simple grenade.
So things are not starting off very good at all here on this T side for Virtus.Pro, and their lead continues to dwindle away. In the favor of Horse players, they sit only 4 rounds away from taking control of the second map and sending us over to number 3 on Cobblestone here.
Yeah. Cobblestone has not been a good map recently for Virtus.Pro either, and Simple, someone, well, if you used to watch in the flip side days, he used to be able to win that map on his own. He's so good on that map, so I'm actually a little bit worried now for Virtus.Pro, and it would be insane to see them lose even a map. Like, this is just ridiculous play coming out from worst players. Some individuals really stepping up, and, well, Arch in that round showing why, well, we were worried about those players lower down the board. He just gets a quad kill. But here we go. It's just going to be the straight-up rush coming in over towards the A site. Simple finds 1, Arch finding a couple, and, well, the main aim here was to try and get the bomb down. I don't think that is going to be happening unless we can see some ridiculous pistol play come out once more, and this time it's Taz with the Deke.
Taz should have got that drop down, but it's all about finding the actual position of Arch now. Not going to find him getting aggressive enough as of yet. As that smoke fades away, he may be able to catch him sneaking out from the corner here behind the forklift. He's boosted himself up, and as they move in, should be able to get at least 1 kill, but can't even find that, unfortunately, despite having 2 players with their backs turned. So it'll be another flawless round from the Warts players, not losing a single one along the way. We now have 2 guys over $10,000 post-buy. That's Simple and Arch. Simple is going to go a little bit below it. I don't think he buys another grenade right before the round begins, but for the rest of these guys, they're still sitting pretty. It'll be another full-buy round coming up from Virtus.Pro, but they themselves are in a very rough position.
Yeah, this is the moment where they really need to try and make an impact on this round. Of course, the loss bonus is built up, but I feel like if they do lose this round, it may just be forced buy after forced buy from now on. I feel like that would just be the sort of tilt factor where they get worse players close to match point and they just sort of keep buying again and again and again. However, this is a round in itself. This time they have switched up the middle presence. No one in vent this time, but actually playing up close, and 2 further back, 1 towards sandbags and 1 towards the highway. So they are playing very middle aggressive at the moment, the CT side, just trying to make something of this. But here we go, Simple going to be holding over towards the A site, alone as well. We see Villain, a player who in the first map didn't really make much of an impact, but he did seem to be ducking and weaving earlier when we saw him on that B site, so possibly a site he's much more willing to play, and it does look like they're much more practiced on the CT side of this map, just individually especially, when you can see players just finding the angles that they need to be found. But again, slow play coming out from Virtus.Pro, making their way over towards the A site, and straight away we're going to see Simple making the push. The rotation going to come in quickly, but Simple, he's doing all the damage at this point. Not going to find the 3rd kill as Taz does manage to trade, but Fix is there and waiting. Bialy going to take down 1. Actually, Arch still in the corner here. May be able to completely ruin this push, although he's going to make a lot of noise. Bialy finds 1 more, brings this back into a 2v2, and now it's actually going to be a retake scenario as worse players make some big mistakes.
With Bialy picking up that kill and a crush, it all falls to Arch, who, I mean, to be honest, we saw Arch peeking out like 3 or 4 seconds earlier from his sandbag position here on mid. He could have just completely shut down Bialy and prevented this from even happening, prevented this from getting this drastic, and now Arch is going to move in, stunned there, and Taz is going to be able to find the headshot to take him down. Virtus.Pro, nicely done on finding these kills very slowly but surely, working their way onto his site, and finally picking up another round.
Well, huge plays coming out from Bialy.
Yeah, after like 5 or 6 straight there coming out from worse players, there is another one up on the board for VP.
Well, it looks like Bialy really did take that round into his own. As you said, Arch could have shut that down very, very early on. Just he got smoked out and just decided to sit in the corner. And, well, considering they had 2 initial kills coming out from Simple while the push came in onto the A site, the fact that they then took the A site is a little bit worrying. And again, we're going to see Fix. He's going to be going down first of all, not having the same CT side as he did on the T. It has been other players making the big plays, but again, it's going to be the initial kill going to the T side, and now it's going to be down to this man here, possibly to try and find another kill, though Arch will find 1. This time, Pasha going to be taken down Orb coming out from Snacks. He'll find one himself. Neo now going to be pushing in, looking for the kill, missing the spray, and actually Arch takes him down as well. So great plays coming out from him, looking for the third, but Taz will trade. Seems to be the anchor when these problems come down. He just finishes off the player who's doing all the damage, and now it's going to be a 3 versus 2. The CTs with no utility, and I feel like this retake is just going to be nigh on impossible, especially with Bialy finding that kill.
Yep, Crush falling back now, and even needs to make sure that he doesn't get flanked out from Z. Focusing on the save at this point, despite the fact that the worst players do have a very generous amount of money still left over. Crush is sitting much, much lower than the rest of his teammates. So he's going to want to try and save that rifle so it doesn't upset the balance with the rest of his guys. And of course, they can still afford 5 rifles going into the next round, assuming he is able to save. Virtus.Pro, though, with their still fledgling economy on their own, really not going to be focused on moving out to hunt him down.
Well, especially the fact that they will want to get the AWP, I imagine, onto Simple. They want to have that little bit of extra economy so he can definitely get nades, Kevlar, everything along the line. But it will be Arch possibly going to drop that AWP just to make sure. No, actually, Simple going to buy it himself. So, well, not going to have everything he needed. Not going to have any nades, in fact. But we will see the buy coming in nonetheless. But this is the chance for VP. This is the big chance. They could actually crush that economy after worst players getting off to an amazing start to this half. A great start to the game itself. This is VP's chance to actually make an impact in this game. And again, they're going to be going for the middle presence. And this time, there is no aggression coming out from the CT side, completely switching up their tact.
Holding back now, playing things very cautiously. As they wait to see if worst players are going to do anything a little bit overzealous. A little bit over aggressive by peeking out. It's not the case, though. They're all holding back. They're all sitting in these default positions. They don't want to peek out. And in fact, they just basically handed mid over should Virtus.Pro decide to move in and take control of it there. There's no one contesting it whatsoever. Arch may be able to jump up on top of the shed to try and challenge people towards highway, but in terms of like a vent push, there's going to be nothing standing in their way.
Well, this is always very risky when you're playing up against a high-level team, especially, well, someone like Virtus.Pro, because if you allow them to execute, they could destroy you. So we'll see how this actually works out. Of course, they do have a couple of players now rotating in over towards Car. Arch again finding another kill, and Fix finds one, Arch finds another, and now it's down to just Neo and Snacks. Snacks with the AWP, they do have the opportunity to get the bomb down. He's got to try and hold off this position, but the Molotov going to be slowing down that plant just a little bit. And there we go. It's now going to be a 4 versus 2 retake. A lot of nades onto Phil and a flash still on Arch, but these two players have been known in the past to make big plays. However, Simple entry and going to find one, and now Snacks, he's left all alone. Nothing he can do here, surely. Going to have to go for something insane, and Crush will find that kill. 4 players this time do survive, and the passive style of play really does work out for worse players.
Yep, and now with this too, they've just saved their own money by, so they're going to be right back on the winning train here. 2 more left to be able to steal this map away from Virtus.Pro. That will be the reset on the losing bonus for Virtus.Pro, but they did manage to save a decent amount coming into that last one. So everybody except for Pasha is going to be in a decent spot to now go for a buy. But with 6.5k sitting on Snacks, it should be an easy... Again, we're wrong on that one. He is going to be able to go for the buy on his own, but still, there's enough left to drop a rifle for Pasha regardless, and Taz will just downgrade himself to a Tech 9.
So yeah, going to be a bit of a weakened buy. Of course, the CT economy, it's improved because they managed to win that round and have 4 players left alive. I still don't think it's safe as of yet. There's still a chance for Virtus.Pro to take this one back, but they've clearly given up on that slow style of play, and they're rushing straight in. Pasha going to be finding one. Crush will refrag, and it is going to be now a 4 versus 4. However, the site has already gone the way of VP. A lot of nades, however, to retake. They could actually Molotov the whole site if it was necessary. So it's going to be difficult, to say the least, for Virtus.Pro to hold on to this one. However, it will come down to the fact of whether or not they actually want to challenge this one. Of course, as said, the CT money isn't great itself. Pushing into the B site, it is a difficult site to retake, especially when they're all pushing in from the same angles. So I feel like worse players may actually, if they don't find an initial kill, just opt to try and save and go for, well, a much better buy in the next round. But they are having a little look around. They're not making any big plays as of yet. As said, they can have all those Molotovs left in play, and Fix is going to find one. And now they found that entry kill. It looks like they are deciding to go for it. However, Taz and Neo are going to find 2 straight back. It's going to be down to the remaining players, and they've left this so very late that Snacks, Taz, just going to finish this one off, and that will be that round that Virtus.Pro needed to bring back the money. And I actually would have said I think worse players should have just gone for the save there.
Taz with the support coming in from Snacks, he was an absolute monster in the way that he remained mobile around the boxes there up on top of the site. Finds that first kill, snaps it to almost pick up the second one, but thankfully Snacks is there to support it, and then just runs away to buy time for Snacks to get into a better position. He picks up 1 more kill, and then the shutdown rolls back in as he's able to get himself that final player back over towards Head Glitch. So that's going to cause a destabilization of the CT economy once again. They forced up here just because they want to keep that lead strong, and it's going to start off well. Simple finds that first kill. Arch as well has a good angle, and Crush with the assistance from down below is going to be able to help up with this, but they're striking back. They're still trading evenly, and Crush runs into a wall there, and it's one of the members of Virtus.Pro, so it's all left into the hands of Philin. A 1v3, and he only has a pistol to work with.
Yeah. I feel like the problems of the last round, once that final Molotov went down, they should have just retreated. But he is going to just try and go for something here. I don't feel like there's really any point just saving a 5-7 on armor. They are going to have to go for an eco in the next round nevertheless. And, well, this is, again, I mentioned it before when they reset the economy, that was the chance of Virtus.Pro. They've managed to do it again. 14-11 should go 14-12 unless we see some insane pistol play coming out from worse players. And, well, choke? Possibly? I don't know. It seems like they have really fallen off. Like, they were going for those aggressive plays previously, and that was working for them, and they've almost calmed down a little bit. Like, there was that one round they played passive that worked, but apart from that, those sort of plays really haven't paid off for them.
Yeah, so obviously struggling a little bit here just to close things out for worse players, as their economy was never really in a secure position. They were just doing a really fantastic job with these holds here and battling it back and forth, along with just the hot start they had 5 or 6 rounds in a row at the beginning of the half. With them holding a hefty advantage, but it is being taken away pretty swiftly now. And on this round, they've just gone for a straight-up gambit. As far as their hold is concerned, 5 players stacking on the A-bomb site.
Well, I wonder if Simple's actually brought NA back with him. Is that a possibility? Just bringing the sort of liquid
one more round
style.
away from that.
But, yeah, we're going to be seeing whether or not they can actually make anything of this round. Of course, the idea is just to try and stack the site, and straight away we're going to see Snacks pushing. They are actually pushing into the stack, so there is a possibility for a couple of kills at least. And there we go. Arch going to be finding one. Not going to find much more, and quickly we see Virtus.Pro just pounce and destroy the opposition. Only one player dropped, and they're going to pick up their AK once more.
The only thing they lose is a MAC-10 in that scenario, which is obviously not a very big loss whatsoever. So Virtus.Pro essentially get through that round with the minimal amounts dropped that they could have had to work with there. Worst players, though, after going for that uneven buy, still having enough to be able to go for a force up here with 5 M4s in play. All players with armor and a decent amount of utility spread out across the board here as well. So they are not done fighting for the actual victory just as of yet.
No AWP yet, though. So Simple has sort of skipped a little bit because he was finding a lot of nice entry kills actually on the CT, or initial kills, I should say, on the CT side. However, Arch can actually go a little bit aggressive here, and this could be the punish. And there we go. Pasha going to take that entry, and unfortunately that means, well, now it's going to be a 5 versus 4, and in these scenarios, it does seem to fall apart a little bit for worse players. And of course, this could mean that we're into a 14-14 scenario. However, Fix will quickly trade one back, so that's at least something to calm the storm a little bit. But in the meantime, we see the B push coming in.
It's all this, though. Philin, he's ready to go, but he falls away a little bit too quickly. And Simple kills a lurker in the meantime, but unfortunately, Philin seems like he panicked and tried to retreat himself closer to the site itself, so that's going to lead to his own death. And now the T's get control of the B-bomb site. Crush is here, but he does not want to take a big risk on actually peeking out just as of yet. Catches one of them, getting them very low. That's Bialy now down at 9 HP. And it's going to be a very ballsy push coming out from Simple, but he's still able to hold that back. Shuts him down. Now down to a 3-on-2, but Crush moves in, finds 2 of his own pickups, all falling to Taz. Now they do have the perfect plant position, and Taz can basically just hide here inside of Checkers, but he needs to peek out to stop them from defusing. Finds that first pickup there, and we also see the stop on the defuse coming out from Crush. He's just going to sit here, wait for the peek to come in the other direction. There's a lot of time left on that bomb, however, so Taz can still sit back. Full 10-second defuse as well. Taz trying to make a decision as to when he should go for this peek. Just saw that shot coming out from the other direction, and Crush, he's not even going to try and attempt this anymore. He knows the economy's in a delicate place. He's just going to move out and allow the guys from Virtus.Pro to get within 1 round's reach of tying things up again.
That's just Taz in a nutshell. So calm in those situations. Took that initial frag, knew that the other player would, well, just have to pretty much either challenge him or go for the straight defuse. He tried to bait out Taz. That's not going to happen, and he just calmly takes that round. Didn't even have to do anything in the end. So 13-14. The worst players, they need 2 rounds, but now VP, they only need 3.
Indeed. So for the worst players here, similar situation that we saw Virtus.Pro in just a few rounds ago. The Virtus.Pro stacked up to the limit with everything they could ever want and desire as far as their buy is concerned. And worst players essentially working with nothing, as Crush has the only rifle for this team, and he's also going to be being aggressive with it too. Now, thankfully, when you look at the positions, he's really not going to find himself in a bad spot anytime soon, but had we seen something similar happen to what we had previously, they could have dropped that gun very early on here, and that could have led to one of them also being eliminated pretty quickly. So Pasha moving in, shuts down Philin. We've already got 2 kills on the board for Virtus.Pro.
And the ball, it's just rolling now. They've taken down all the players that had next to nothing. The two players with armor are remaining. Archer's going to find one. May actually be able to recover himself a rifle, which would be great going into the next round. But in the meantime, it's going to come down to Crush. He does have the rifle. He's alone on the site. He will manage to find one, but that is all she wrote. But Crush, in the meantime, just lurking around, and he's not going to manage to find anything in the end. So I'm not sure challenging this is really worthwhile. I feel like just saving that rifle into the next round, going for that big buy that they need to see. I feel like Simple, well, do they have the cash to get that AWP in the next round? Does look like it might be possible. 3,400 added on. He should be able to get that up. At least someone dropping it to him is possible. And I think over towards that A side has been so crucial, just holding in. And actually, I wonder if we're going to see, tactical pause. So West players, they do realize that possibly the scenario where they need to reset their mental state is coming in. And hopefully they'll be able to close out this map and take it to Cobblestone.
In all honesty as well, it's sort of just icing things against Virtus.Pro since they're on a bit of a hot streak themselves. If they can calm them down by going for this pause, forcing them to wait like another 2 or 3 minutes or so, then that would be a little bit of an advantage in their favor, because clearly Virtus.Pro, they found what is needed here. They've been able to finally punch through worst players, just playing things slowly and taking advantage of the fact that the worst players themselves are just going to leave themselves overexposed at the beginning of each round. They can always get a 1 or 2 man advantage, and from that point forward, punish it as they work their way into the site.
Well, and we can actually confirm now that the team who they will be playing, or the loser will be playing, will be SK. They've been 2-0'd, 16-5, 16-5, so it is whoever loses this game will go on to face SK. Obviously, Hellraisers is clearly getting off to a hot start after they did actually lose 3-0 to SK at SIVO, so clearly something has changed. The dynamic has changed since then, but, well, it's not going to be an easy game, whoever does fall down into that lower bracket, although it does look like SK haven't quite got off to the start that they wanted.
I mean, Hellraisers were they were looking good, but I'm pretty sure they did pretty well last week at the minor as well. So they've been stepping things up recently, looking for their own performance. Obviously playing in a lot of events as well, and it's helping with that. Just that consistency, if you get that going, that's like part of the reason why I think too, like a lot of the big European teams, they do so well, is because they're like constantly bouncing from event to event. So they're never really get a break. They're always in the heat of competition here.
Well, that's the scary thing as well about Na'Vi. They have had a nice little break leading up to this one. Going to have possibly some new strategies, although they may not even need them. They are obviously the clear favorite for this tournament, of the hot
by a pretty long shot now as well.
Well, especially when you look at what's going on. They're probably their main competition at the moment, Virtus.Pro, who are, well, I don't want to say it, but they're struggling to be a tier whatever team. Like, I don't even know what to call this, because they're brand new. They're literally like Simple and Co. That seems to be a lot of the problems at the moment. Like Simple is top of the board, although Arch and Fix. Arch has definitely stepped up massively on this CT side. So that is one of the main reasons, but as you said, it's been 5 rounds in a row now. Let's see if they've actually managed to switch things up, whether they have reset and whether they've slowed down the momentum of VP.
Crush has been having a decent amount of impact here too on quite a few of the rounds with some good positioning, and he may look to have it once again in this one as he puts himself in an aggressive spot, pushing his way out there. It'll be Arch that finds the first frag. Fix moving in, tries to take another duel, does not go very well. Bialy striking back, Pasha finding another kill, and a second for himself, a third for the team, as he takes down Film, leaving only Crush and Simple alive. A nice op shot moving in there. He's going to light Simple up, and the switch over to the pistol is going to finish him off. Only Crush up and running at this point. And the guys from Worst Players are about to lose their lead.
Yeah, and Simple, well, I think I heard it anyway. He missed a shot onto Snacks as well, which would be pretty much the second that happened, you give Snacks a chance, he's going to find that kill. And again, he finds the final kill in the round. Map and series point now to Virtus.Pro after a huge amount of points. And, wow, Simple, he's got to have deja vu here.
Maybe not so much. This one
probably not quite as much on the line in this game. But
if we look at this realistically, this isn't like that huge of a comeback from VP. Like, this is still a very solid comeback from these guys and a very respectable one. But it was one that wasn't the hardest thing in the world to attain.
It was almost expected in a way.
Like the LG versus Liquid one was just
insane,
completely out of proportion. Hashtag 15 match points, but that's another story. As the entry is going to come in pretty quickly from Virtus.Pro. They want to shut this down. They move in. It's a 1-for-1 trade initially, and in fact, Simple moves in and finds his second pickup on his own there. Takes down Taz. The only real player that's been able to make an impact is now Pasha. And also, he didn't get that intel out for some reason, so Arch is going to get another kill for free. Down to 2, still 3 up and running for Worst Players. A very awkward take from Virtus.Pro. It does happen, but now they've got to try and hold this. And Pasha, moving into the smoke, he's got to be extremely careful with the way he plays this off now, as he's going to be directly in the hot seat as soon as this starts to fade. But it was just tossed out. He's got plenty of time to work. Now he's going to push down. But nice response from Simple. Grabs the flick on the Pasha, takes him down. And it all comes into the hands of Neo. He's stuck in a corner. It's not going to pay off. And Philin closes out the round. We're going into OT.
Yeah, what crazy plays coming in that. I have no idea what happened with Arch. Like, I have no idea how he was sat in that corner. Pasha was in quad, and just there was nothing there that just a player managed to walk onto the side and go, oh, hey, Pasha, you're not going to tell me he's there? That seemed like a huge mistake from VP.
I honestly don't think he saw him for whatever reason. It didn't even seem like he reacted to him. Like, he was just sitting safely back in quad, not even really trying to find a position to take that player down. So either you're correct, it wasn't communicated for whatever reason, or he just didn't see him in the first place. Very, very odd indeed, and that made it a very, very sloppy take.
Well, especially when I think Arch had already found an initial frag as well. So to not know where he was, especially when you've taken over the quad as well, there weren't many positions he could realistically be in, but nevertheless, that is going to be a 15-15. We are going to be going to overtime, and, well, are you surprised? Because I know I am. I'm very, very surprised.
Definitely, and obviously, Virtus.Pro should have had that in their hands. If we would have seen Pasha moving out from quad and finding that kill, that I don't imagine that retake happening. But because of the fact that it's brought down to the 2v3 instead of the even 3v3 there, then things got pretty desperate pretty quickly. So going into OT, I'm trying to remember actually Starlighters rules for OT.
I think it's
I think they're MR3 16K.
MR3 16K, yeah.
Which is a bit more different because the usual overtime rules for anybody who's not like super familiar with CS:GO or doesn't watch a lot, most tournaments will do an MR3 10K, but there are certain tournaments like this one that do prefer to do with a 16K start, specifically because if you start with 10K and you go for like a really aggressive CT buy right at the beginning of the overtime half, you can actually basically run out of money by the third round. Some players don't really like the fact that you can run out of money in overtime, so the 16K basically ensures that unless you're like doing something crazy like all 5 players buy auto snipers or something, you're basically not going to run out of money even if you buy very aggressively on that CT side.
Yeah, I'd say I do quite like it, but at the same time, I sort of enjoy the punish in a way of when you do lose those 2 rounds in a row, just getting punished for it. Like, sort of it brings a little bit of the actual sort of game into the economy of the game, which is something that's huge in CS. That's one of the main factors of it, but it does give a chance for both teams to show their full buys and their full potential on each round.
The main argument against it, though, is that like the Ts can basically do the same buy and they won't run out of money by the third round. Like the usual buys, like the double op buy, is what we're talking about here. The CTs can do that, and if they don't win either that round or the round after that, they're basically going to be on pistols for the final round. Whereas the Ts can do a very similar buy and still kind of have a pretty good force going into the final round. So it's been uneven on the sides, unfortunately, which is why some players you prefer the 16K start instead of the 10K start.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting either way. I feel like I'm hoping anyway that worst players with their full buy could actually do this, because the thing is, when they had their big buy, they had the AWP onto Simple, they had all the nades, they had the flashbangs so able to get themselves back in. They're actually very, very good. It's just that they fell off a bit for a couple of rounds, and unfortunately, in the end, it was like, okay, they got reset, then things just fell apart. They went for a few sort of sketchy buys, and in the end, well, VP managed to get to 15 before them, which I didn't really see coming after how they started.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, Virtus.Pro have to be a little bit upset with themselves that they can't close out in that final round, simply because that was one player anchored onto the site that made the difference there at the end of the day, and that would have been the end of it. We would have been done with the set right now, but that's not the case. And now, due to some good performances coming out from Simple mainly, along with actually a pretty good performance from Fix and Arch too, specifically on that second half, those guys really stepping up to make the impact here on the CT side for those players.
Well, Arch especially for me, I feel like there were a few rounds that he just shut down on his own, like especially in the clutch situations and like the quad kill we saw over towards middle. Fix, he's going to be crucial on the T side because I think he ended up with, was it 16 frags? I think most of them were entry kills, sometimes 2 entry kills, and we didn't see that too much on Mirage, and if he falls off, I feel like they'll have some real problems. So it is going to be, for me, Fix, especially, obviously Simple is just that sort of name at the very top that you're always going to be saying, oh yeah, Simple needs to perform. But it's like, this is Simple's team. It's like, if you base a team around a player and then go, oh yeah, no, that guy doesn't need to perform, that would just be madness. So yeah, of course, we're going to need to see big stuff coming up from Simple, but I really do feel like, well, looking at the opposing team, it's actually Bialy at the top of the board, which, I don't know, I think, well, he's the entry fragger as well, so it's a little bit weird that he's right at the top of the board. You normally expect some of the other players to step up. Pasha right at the bottom at the moment, and well, considering on his CT side with the mag, he had some nice kills, and then with the AWP as well, finding some entries, but then just sort of disappeared a little bit, and that mistake right at the end.
If this goes to a third map too, players like Fix are going to be incredibly crucial to the way things go, because oftentimes, I mean, like most of the time, the combo maps are going to boil down to how successful your B hits are, especially on gun rounds there, because a lot of what teams will struggle with is actually getting themselves past the platform or getting drop control and then working that out into a site. And that's all entries, right? Because you find like 1 or 2 kills and all of a sudden the site's wide open for your taking. You maybe have like 1 or 2 guys left alive behind the rock outside of CT main or inside of chicken coop, but you can easily just overwhelm them by having 2 or 3 guys push that player. It's always finding that first 1 or 2 kills on platformer and dropper room that actually allows you to get onto the site. That's the issue. And with the good entry power coming in for worst players, if this goes to a map number 3, then that could be something dangerous for them because the T side, again, does control how things often go on that map.
Well, yeah, it is probably the most T-sided map in the pool at the moment, but I think the main thing for me as well is, I think something that Anders mentions quite a lot is finding information on Cobble as well from the CT side's perspective is something else that's always very interesting, because obviously you can go for those sort of peaks towards middle or the pushes, but most of the time you either have to like jump into the crosshairs of the Ts, or you have to boost yourself somewhere, or you have to do something a little bit overzealous, and in a way that's what makes the map so T-sided, is the information is very, very difficult to retrieve.
So we should be getting started, guys, with the overtime in just a moment. I believe Simple's team had to use the bathroom, and that is the cause of the delay. So we do apologize for that, but it looks like Virtus.Pro should be readied up now. We did have the guys from Worst Players readied up a second ago, so I would imagine we'll jump into it here at any moment.
Yeah, but well, again, it is Phil right at the bottom of the board, not having as poor a performance. He has had a couple of rounds where you feel like, okay, maybe there was something there, but it always seems like they don't go B for the majority of the rounds, and then when they are, he's always like in transition of positions or something. Like we saw him moving from the checkers area over towards the site at one point and just instantly got caught out just through a smoke or something. So I feel like he has been a little bit unlucky, and if he can sort of step up on that B site, then sure, they could take this. I definitely, like after seeing this map so far, I don't think it's anywhere near this is VP's. Oh yeah, it's definitely VP's map. I just think worse players have come out.
Interesting note here too, guys, by the way, is that we're not using the usual group format. I believe this is actually just a straight-up double elim bracket that we're being played here. So the loser of this game is going to go down to the lower side of the bracket. We'll have to play off there from that point forward if they want to try and push themselves forward in the tournament. So we are going live now with overtime, and immediately the buys coming out from both sides. No one going to risk it and go for the double op. We're just going to see single ops on both sides, the usual full buys. But very quickly, however, you can see Virtus.Pro getting into a position to take control of A main and then move out onto the site. Whereas players have got a read on this, though, and they're ready for a retake.
Yeah, interesting style of play for this. They're actually pushing one player over towards the site now, so Fick's going to be playing up close. As said, he was very, very convincing on that T side. I feel like he did fall off a little bit on CT. We'll see whether or not he can find anything in this round. It's going to be the aggressive push. Bialy going to take him down straight away. Another frag to his ridiculous collection so far. Arch going to be trying to find the trade. Simple, however, will find one, but Taz takes him down in return, and it is going to be a 4 versus 3. A few players are low. Of course, there are nades for the CT side to play with here, but now the afterplant positions are in place for Virtus.Pro, and this is going to be very, very difficult to try and retake.
These guys are all boxed out too. Smokes him on cover the site very well, but here comes Phil, and he's just going to push directly in. They've got the spray coming back over from Quad. That's coming up from Taz, mainly. Good damage done, and 1, 2, 3. All the remaining members of Worst Players just get decimated by Pasha, Neo, and Taz, giving Virtus.Pro the lead here heading into OT.
Great timing there with the peaks. Every single player just peeked out once. You see Taz actually waiting over towards Quad. Just for the second his teammate peeked, he went straight out and took down the remaining player. So brilliant work there from Virtus.Pro. Of course, there are only 2 more rounds left in this first half, so we need quick impacts coming out from the worst player. Simple with the AWP. Didn't really do too much in that round, and actually we saw very, very quickly Fix got overwhelmed on that side.
Taz, again, ready to move himself into the A-bomb site, but just hiding behind the box to make sure there's no aggressive push coming out from the side of Worst Players as of yet. Not going to find it. They're sitting back. They're playing pretty passively with the main exception being Philin. I believe he did try to smoke off the actual vent. Actually, that smoke still works fine, though, so not going to be critiquing that too much, as I believe that connected where he wanted it to. But for the rest of Worst Players, now after starting to lurk a little bit around the map and just playing these default positions, they will start to solidify. Look for mid control, which they can use to take control of highway and eventually push up to the A-bomb site.
Yeah, 3 players currently on the A-bomb site. They've gone for the boost. Quite a common boost to be used, but it does normally give you the initial kill in the round, unless they check it instantly and take that one-tap headshot. But we are seeing middle control again coming up for VP, something they seem to really enjoy on this map. The unfortunate thing is they haven't actually made a huge amount from it in the past. Of course, Arch normally playing in that position has shut them down on multiple occasions, but it looks like they are going to go again and split towards the A site. We're going to be seeing Simple just waiting over towards middle, trying to find a pick with that AWP, but as of yet, nothing really being spotted, and this still leaves 2 players over towards that B side, and this could be absolutely perfect for VP if they could just go, well, and slaughter the players on the A side. 2 players are there. It's going to be Arch. It's going to be Fix, and they're going to have to make a huge impact. And straight away, Fix again, not having a great time on that CT side. He's out of the round. 1 player over towards Fork, going to be trying to find a kill here. He will find 1. Simple finds another. Simple actually saving his teammate. What just happened? Somehow, Virtus.Pro do manage to capitalize. I think it was just a surprise there, being alive, that caught off the CT player. The bomb going to go down with seconds left, but Pasha is going to be alone versus Crush and Phil, 2 players not at the height of their game. Going to try and find something into this. They're going to be pushing together. We're actually going to see 1 player coming in from behind. So Pasha, he has to be careful here. But it looks like he's getting ready to go aggressive to try and find one of these kills, bring it back to a 1v1, but it's not going to happen. Crush peeks out of the perfect time, and we do see worse players bring 1 back.
That play with Arch was like absolutely hilarious because he thinks he's dead, or he kills his opponent there after Simple like saves his life, and he's like, oh, wait, I can still frag. And it seemed like, I forget who it was from Virtus.Pro that was standing his way back over there outside of Toxic, but he seemed to think the same thing as both of them just stood there and looked at each other for a few seconds like, oh, we can both kill each other still. So it caused a bit of confusion there, but at the end of the day, worse players bouncing back, definitely not going to make this a shutdown for Virtus.Pro just as of yet, as things remain close at 16 for either team.
Yeah, money going to be absolutely fine, as said, for both teams. So we are going to see 4 buys coming in on either side. As you said, no double AWP setup. The only thing is, for worse players especially, I'm not actually sure who would pick up that secondary AWP. So I don't think we've seen it at all in either of the maps. So that may be just a problem with their team. But anyway, we're going to be seeing Crush going a little bit aggressive to try and find himself a peak. Not finding anything as of yet. Again, it does look like a couple of players lurking over towards the A site. It does seem to be Virtus.Pro's favoured site for sure. And it's a little bit worrying, especially the fact that Philin has not been playing particularly well. He is over towards the B site, but we do have a lurker, Viali, possibly going to try and get an entry over towards that site. Crush currently in the corner. And, well, here we go. Bialy now over onto that B site. We're getting close anyway. And the bomb still in sort of no man's land. But look at Pasha's position. Just gone straight through a smoke, looking for that frag. But I don't think he's going to find anything as of yet, till that smoke fades at least.
Starting to see if he can catch anybody on upper first. Not really focusing on the forklift areas until that smoke fades, as you were mentioning previously. Now Arch, he's going to check it, but we still see Pasha winning the opening duel. The problem, though, is that the rest of the team is close to the B-bomb site. The smoke comes in, he's going to try to draw the rotations, wins his second duel, and that should definitely do the job. But no one's rotating off of that B-bomb site, so Crush is going to move in. However, with Pasha getting that much control, we are going to see the players that were originally going for the B hit, they fall away from this, and they're going to try to hit A instead here. Now some more kills coming out for the side of worse players. Simple, along with Crush, picking up 2 of their own, keeps this even down to a 3-on-3.
Looking for these positions now. They are smoked out. The nades are going to be great positions. Actually, almost getting taken down by the nade. Neo doing some nice work. Going to go with a flash, trying to just hold these players off towards Car, and they're all there. He's going to find 1 more, and he finds the final headshot. 1 tap, and that is Philin out of the round. That guy is probably the unluckiest player in the server at the moment.
It was a 1-tap flick as well. A little of the swipe. Shut it down. Nicely played by Virtus.Pro there. Adjusting on the fly after they were trying to just go for a fake. The fake ends up being the main hit, and it's all Pasha that allows them to get into the A-bomb site there on that round. So they keep the lead coming out of the first time in OT1. And again, there's a bit of a heads up for anybody who may not be familiar with the overtime rules. You need 4 out of the 6 rounds in overtime in order to win the match. If you still remain tied at the end of the 6 rounds, the process repeats itself over and over again.
So the magic number, for anybody who doesn't know, is 19, just in case someone couldn't work out the mathematics at this point, or didn't want to. But we are going to see the AUG back in play once more for Neo. So still going with that scoped COD gun. It's going to be Pasha back on the AWP, someone who was finding some nice entry kills. And of course, on the opposing side, we have Simple trying to do the same. But at the moment, it does look like just gathering up over towards that B side at the moment. Only currently 1 player towards that, and it is going to be Pasha, possibly going to go for initial peek to try and find out at least some information or possibly a kill. But here we go. Philin going to be going in first. The Molotov going to push Pasha out of position. Actually, Neo going to do a little bit of a love bite onto his teammate, but here we go. Philin going to be forward, but what on earth? Neo jumps out with a nade in his hand. Pasha finds 1, finds a second, looking for the third, going to Molotov himself into the corner. Will make things a little bit difficult, but he's got that smoke ready in case he does get caught. The bomb site is now belonging to the T side, and they do find another kill with Simple taking off the head of Taz.
Simple is going to miss that shot. He did manage to catch Snacks lurking back from behind him there, but Snacks also as well going to miss the connection. So Simple given a chance to react. Bialy trading that out immediately. Down to a 2 onto the bomb has gone down, but both these remaining players are stuck back in checkers right now with no way outside of that. That Molly might be enough to finish him off. Pasha's going to steal the kill regardless. And now everything falls to Crush. A lot of time has passed, though, and again, Virtus.Pro still very passive about the way they're moving into this site. They need to just roll right up on here and try to take him down, but they don't know where he is yet, so we can get one of these for free. There's the first pickup, and he finds the second
what
one.
A play.
So immediately, worst player striking back again. We are not done yet.
Great positional play there. They don't check the back of sight. Unfortunately, Pasha was looking over towards, I think, the CT area in the end. And, well, great play coming out there. Finds both frags and gives his team a chance coming back into this one. 2 rounds needed for either side. Of course, if it goes 18-all, we are going to a second overtime. And again, Neo picking up the AEG. But he seems to be making quite a few mistakes, actually, on the CT side of things.
Virtus.Pro here seemingly had that round in the bag, but trade backs come in there from the side of worst players. Keeping them in the mix, keeping them very, very close. Being able to tie that round share once again, as they've done now. So from Virtus.Pro, just the even split. No mid control, however, being exercised by these guys, but it seems like it actually shouldn't end up biting them back too badly, as worst players does not really look like they're going to go for mid control. That could change in a moment, though. If this decision does come into fruition, then now they're going to have to watch out for that, but they've also adjusted Neo over to this position, so he is able to watch out for any boost action that may be coming in, as well as any mid-garage pushes. With Bialdi already picking up that first kill, Virtus.Pro have done a good job of holding things back for now.
Yeah, double orb setup as well have come in for now for the CT side with the AEG, so actually triple scope rifles in play. Pasha has gone very, very aggressive, currently holding if they do go towards that B side, but we've seen this happen before, where he's just so far out of play that actually if they do execute, which it does seem like they're going to onto the A side, he may just be too far out of the round. So we'll see whether or not he can actually have any sort of impact. Obviously, if they do rotate, it's possible, but Fick's going to be finding the first kill, looking for the second. Taz will find one, but Crush is going to take him down as well. 3 versus 3. As said, Pasha is quite far away at this point, and, well, Simple going to find one more. It's going to be the Org retake. Never said that before, and it's going to be, well, the AWP still on Pasha, and this is not an ideal situation, to say the least, for Virtus.Pro.
Pasha's starting to sneak his way around. He's actually not even going into A main either. He's just going for Squeaky, which is going to severely limit his options as far as what he'll be able to spot here. At the same time, nobody's really watching out for that. Not really giving them anything. The smoke going to cover off the A main angle, and as he pushes out, there's the first pickup. Simple responds with one of his own. Pasha thinking quad is clear. He's pushed right back inside of this one. And with that said, at 12 HP, no way he's pulling up this retake. Time to fall away and save the op.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to be seeing again. Well, actually, no, this is the first one. This is the first map point coming in for worst players. Of course, these exit kills not really going to hurt their team at all. They're going to have plenty of cash to buy up. They've won both rounds, and yeah, they're not going to be worried as such. Saving the AWP, well, it does give them a little bit of extra cash, but let's see what they're actually able to do here. And worst players now, well, there's a glimmer of cobblestone in the eye of the players, and as said, that was the one way I saw them winning this matchup, was if they could take it to cobblestone. I never really saw them winning both of these initial maps, but clearly, well, there is a weakness on cash at the moment from Virtus.Pro, and it's being exploited by Simple and Co. So we're going to be seeing 4 players sort of in a little bubble over towards middle, couple in B. Possibly going to go for a boosted, just looking for information, and the rotation already going back towards that A site. It does seem to be that both teams actually do prefer that A hit quite heavily on occasions, but here we go. The flashbang going to be popped in. Bialy going to go through the smoke, and Simple will punish, and that's already the entry kill they need. First kill going. Taz caught, reloading, and now it's going to be down to just a 3 versus 5. This is the nails beginning to be put into the coffin. Crush going to find one more, and it's going to be down to a 4 versus 2. We see 1 kill coming out from Neo. Pasha now 1 versus 3, taking down the first, so he does make his odds a little bit higher. Looking for the second, he'll miss the shot. Worst players, they take the map.
And with that, now we'll go to a map number 3 on Cobblestone. Amazing play from worst players, and Crush. It's one of those final kills as a mid-air jumping headshot as well.
Pretty insane.
There's definitely some style coming into play there at the end of map number 2, but now things will get extremely dangerous for Virtus.Pro, as Cobble should be coming up here very soon. Be sure to stick around for that one, and we'll be back in just a little bit here with more of the Star Ladder Invitational.
Yep, see you in a moment.